Yo, here we are once again, Damage Per Second podcast, back in the building, the virtual building, because this is the YouTube, whatever. Look, we back, right? Episode 94, 6 more episodes before we hit the big triple digits, the big 100. I have no idea what we're going to do for the 100th episode. We haven't really talked about it yet, but we're going to get it figured out. Today, we have a special guest. First, before I introduce the special guest, I do also want to introduce my co-host. My co-host with the co-most, Gaming Forte. What's up, bro?
What up, though? How you doing? How everybody doing? How the chat doing? How's the world doing? It's been kind of crazy out here, but
the world is the world.
The world is the world. But guess what? We're
It's
all
awful.
10%ers. We're all at the top of it. So
Right.
great to be here, Slow Mo.
Yeah. Glad to have you once again, homie. And we got someone that we've known for a while, but we were just discussing how in the world did we not get this guy on before now? I call him One Bad Insider, but he doesn't like to go by that name. He goes by One Bad Mother. He's still One Bad Insider than me. But OBM, how's it going, bro? How's it going, man?
It's going great, guys, and it's even better. It's I wanted to come on today really just to get this chance to talk with you guys. It's been a minute. We've been busy with our lives. Mr. Forte is only like 15 minutes away from me, but I haven't had a chance to talk to him in a little bit. So yeah, it's great to get a chance to sit down and talk some gaming with you guys again today.
Absolutely. And so, since this is the first time you've been on, for the people who aren't familiar with the One Bad Insider, please let everyone know, what you do have an amazing podcast. I want you to plug that. You also work with Xbox Era, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So go ahead, just let everyone know, what you are involved in and everything that you got going on.
Yeah, so yeah, appreciate that, man. I do, I definitely work with the Xbox Era team. It's kind of where I get to chance to spread my creative wings when it comes to video game content. Lately, I've been doing some stuff behind the scenes, so I haven't been putting out videos. Those will hopefully be coming back out again here, and some articles and videos in the next couple months once we tidy up some of these projects behind the scenes. But I also host one of our kind of offshoot podcasts from Xbox Era, which is You Had Me at Halo. So
I love that name. That is the best podcast name that really fits that I've ever heard. It's perfect. They're what You Had Me at Halo. It's great. It's great. Go ahead, man.
Well, it's funny, man, because that name came to me. We were trying to think of thread names a long time ago, and I came up with that name. I'm sure I'm not the first person in the world. I mean, it's it feels like probably a lot of people thought they were brilliant and came up with that name. But when we kind of looked around and saw hey, nobody's using this for a podcast, I'm like, all right, we're just gonna start one. It's all right, I guess we have to start a Halo podcast so we can use the name. So it's I don't know if it will always stay only a Halo podcast, but right now that's what it is. It goes bi-weekly. Fortunately, there's still, despite the lack of content with 343, it does seem like there's always something to talk about with Halo. So so we've been had a lot to say last week, and next week we'll be going again because it's bi-weekly. We'll have plenty to say then. So if anybody here in your chat is or who's listening is a Halo fan, come and check us out every other Thursday at around 7:00.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone should definitely check it out. We do have quite a few Halo fans here. They may be a bit disgruntled like myself, but they are still Halo fans at heart.
That's all right. You know what? The fact that you're disgruntled shows that you're a fan, right? Right. Forte might be able to relate to this, but as people that have grown up around Detroit, I'm a homer, so I know Forte's jumped the bandwagon for football teams and stuff, but for me, as a Lions fan,
he's a front-running football fan at the work.
No,
yes, you are. Anybody, you were a Detroit fan, and then you became a Patriots fan. Get the freak out of here. You're a front runner, bro.
No.
I mean, it's okay. I love you, but you're still a front runner. I'm just saying.
Oh, man.
Actually, the only reason we became a Patriot fan is because Tom Brady was a Michigan Wolverine, and that's the only reason.
Okay, so were you a Patriots fan before he became when Drew Bledsoe was still starting? Before, okay, then you were a front runner because as soon as he started, he was beasting out.
No. He didn't know. No one knew what Tom Brady was going to be his first year. We were in the we were rooting, like there were people rooting for the Rams to win that Super Bowl, bro, that first year.
Well, everyone was rooting for the Rams because the Patriots shouldn't have been there with the stupid no tuck rule.
Well, and that was very, very I was conflicted during that because like I said, I'm a Michigan Wolverine fan, and I wanted Charles Woodson to go to the Super Bowl too. So it was like, it just happened to be that the two people that I probably care about the most in that game had this crazy thing that happened, and it benefited one person and not the other. I'm just glad that he finally did win a Super Bowl though.
Yeah, Tom Brady always is a sore spot for me as a Michigan fan, just because we didn't start. Well, we didn't.
Because they only had to play Chad stuff.
He ruined it, man. It's like for me, all that did was put salt in the wounds. So Michigan, we had the best quarterback ever, but we couldn't win because we wouldn't let him play the full game. It's like,
when he did play, he played amazing.
That was always a sore spot to me, man. It's like they missed their chance at a championship because they didn't recognize what they had.
Well, they did win. Well, they would have probably won more than that last one.
Okay, let's break it up because Michigan football talk going on here.
Well, listen, Michigan fans got more players at their camp than
I said break it up. We not talking about Michigan football no more. And you decided to give me some random football fact about Michigan football that no one cares about but you two. Moving on, OBM. So yes, you got Have Me a Halo. You yes, working with Xbox era. Like, is there anything else that you got going on, or like we can segue into what we played? If there's anything else you got going on, let us know, and also tell us what games you've been playing recently.
So that's pretty much it for now. In terms of things that I got going on, which is enough. So we're putting together actually a book on the original Xbox, and just did a pretty cool interview not too long ago. It's a little bit behind schedule, but it's now starting to come together. So that's what's been keeping me busy. But for games lately, obviously, Halo's always in the rotation, no matter what. It's been, I already got 500 hours in Infinite. I have over 2,000 in Halo 5. Yes, sir.
Wow.
You can go check
I don't think I'm anywhere near that.
Yeah, I definitely got a problem, man. It's like, it doesn't matter what the content issues are, the progression issues, the desync. I was like, I complain about it, and then I play it, and then I complain about it. It's just a routine. It's like a bad, marriage sometimes. But I put over 2,000 in Halo 5, so I definitely am a Halo fanboy in that regard. But besides that, I actually been getting into the Yakuza series lately.
Oh, really? Which one did you start with?
Well, so a couple years ago a year and a half ago when Like a Dragon released, I did play that. That was my first ever Yakuza that I beat, but I never really was able to get in the main line. I tried it once and it just didn't click. So I decided to try it again because I liked Like a Dragon so much. So I beat Zero. Awesome game. And I started to play Kiwami now. So I think I'm just going to keep firing through these things. They're... it's better than I expected. So yeah, mostly that, and then obviously there's a little bit of Forza Horizon DLC, and a little bit of the Outriders, but those are the Yakuza and Halo is pretty much taking up 90% of the gaming time.
Got you. Forte, what have you been playing, man? I think you also been doing a little bit of the Hot Wheels DLC for Forza as well.
Man, I played so much of that. I still was playing it. I'm almost done with it at this point now, but it's really good. Really, really good. I like the sense of speed of it, so it's really fun playing that. Outside of that, man, just going back and forth. I went back and played some more God of War. I'm starting to play through on that because I already know I'm not going to want to do the whole thing all in one sitting again, so it just really comes down to just picking away at that again. Kind of doing it, don't give me God of War difficulty.
Yeah, I'm gonna run through God of War again. This time on the PC. version because I haven't actually ran through that yet, and that one's like, of course, the definitive much better version compared to the PS5 version, of course, right?
Yeah.
But I was gonna wait until October, so that like once I'm done with it, it's all gonna be fresh in my mind as I roll into Ragnarok, you know. So like the very next month. So that's why I just kind of just waiting on playing through it at this point. But anything else you got going on? You know, I know we played a little Fortnite, man. You didn't want to talk about that, you know?
We were sucking, bro.
Carrying you.
Sir, you had 4 kills. I had 3 kills in that last game, and the games before that, I had just as many kills as you did.
No, you didn't.
So
okay, all right. Okay, look. OBM. There's on his channel, right? On his channel, he did a live stream at like 1 in the morning when we played this. It was some random time. I don't know why he decided to stream. I was dead tired. That said, like he died. And I had to solo like a whole bunch of people. And I'm fighting these 2 guys, and it's like I'm dodging.
Like I did. You didn't die.
I'm
and I had
dodging,
to do the same
and I'm jumping and moving. Like I dropped. I almost won the whole thing by myself. It was
so
you know.
So what he like isn't telling you is the fact that before that, I had the same thing happen where I died literally as one of the last 2 people. And we finished 2nd place, and then he followed me up and did that like at the last game. So he make it seem like he did this. He was the only one that did this when I did it too.
Well, I can't talk when it comes to BR, man. I for some reason, I don't know what it is with me and BR. I usually, the only value I have to a team in those modes is to keep the other squad just shooting at me, you know, and then maybe my team will sneak up on them. So, Halo seems to be the only multiplayer game I'm good at, so that's why I keep playing that. Maybe someday when Halo has a BR, I'll be able to, finally do alright.
I'll definitely be playing that with you as well. For myself, I've been playing again like a lot of Fortnite zero build mode. I'm not touching Fortnite with the building. I don't want to mess with them kids. They be building Taj Mahals and freaking, you know, like Empire State Buildings on you out of nowhere every time you shoot at them. I have nothing. Right. I don't want anything to do with that. Zero build is fun. I freely admit Epic is taking me on a ride with these skins. I'm showing some restraint now. They keep coming out with stuff. I don't know about Enrique, because Enrique went and bought the LeBron skin. It don't make no sense to me. Like, why you buying a LeBron of all people? And then every people, hey, you gonna get John Cena? And I'm not touching John Cena. Now, when Dragon Ball Z come out next week, you might see your boy grab a couple. We'll see. We will see. But I've been playing that. I mean, I've been playing some Road Company with some of the footage you see going right now. Just really getting into my multiplayer bag. I'm running through As Dusk Falls again because when I played it the first time, and I'm so glad that so many people are like playing it and streaming it and are enjoying it, because I feel like it's a game that really deserved that kind of attention. I know not too many people were really too hyped on it, aside from myself. And then like I feel like once like the early adopters started to like really like tell people the story was really good and it's a good game, that people really started to pick it up and enjoy it. So I'm glad to see that, right? That said, I got some people killed on my first run through. Some mistakes was made. But I do think overall, like everyone that survived had a decent, like a happy ending, you know, out of the characters that you could control. So I felt like I did a good job there. I just need to go back and just like save some people. So I'm running through that again, and you know, I think. All right,
I have a question for you, Slow-Mo.
Oh, here we go. What's up, man?
No, not about that. It's something about what you said earlier about skins and stuff. I was thinking about this. Do you find it weird for a person to buy a skin of a person that's actually living? Like
yes.
Like
I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Like, I looked at that LeBron skin and I was like, it looked cool, but I'm not buying the skin of an actual man that's walking around this planet.
Nah.
Just like I'm not buying the skin of John Cena. Like I'll buy a skin of Laura Croft because that's a fictional character. I'm not buying one of a person that literally like that's like, oh, someone gonna say they put like a skin of Denzel Washington in the game. I'm not buying that.
I am not buying that.
No,
I'm not buying. I just
okay,
I can't
I just
do
know
it.
if we were on the same page.
I don't know what it is, but I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I just want to know if we was on the same page. That's all.
It's not even like if it was someone that I was really like, oh man, I'm a fan of this person, I probably still wouldn't do it. I'm not that big a fan of LeBron. I think LeBron's a bit overrated. You know, if anyone in the chat has an issue with me saying that, I don't care. Kick rocks. He is overrated. The guy has a losing record in the finals. Okay, you're not the best or close to the best. If that's how you roll. Okay, but like just like I'm looking at like his little emote dance and I'm just like I'm not spending $20 on all this crap. Like I'm just not. But even if it was someone I was like, I'm a huge fan of the person, I'm probably still not buying a skin for him. I just can't do it. Now for that.
So Slomo, I want to ask you a question about As Dusk Falls because I actually downloaded that and thought it might be a fun game to play with my daughter who's 17, so she's not.
Oh, that would be I think it would be awesome. You guys would love it, and she could download this app so that she doesn't have to just like, hey dad, like choose this choice or something. She could actually like, you two can like, she could make her own choices, and then you can kind of like make your choice, and then if you guys do have to do a tiebreaker or whatever, I can't remember how it is, how it works with just 2 players, but like there's the option of downloading an app and then having people couch co-op kind of like play with you that way. And then there's also, if you're a streamer, which I think I might end up doing at some point, just running a stream. It only works on Twitch, so I'll do it on my Twitch channel. But like just the chat, the actual Twitch, chat is the one making the decisions. So it's like community-led decisions. So of course the streamer gets a choice to make some decisions in there, but the streamer can only override the chat like 3 times in the entire game. And so I've seen some streams that have been pretty hilarious with people choosing some crazy outlandish like comments and choices and stuff. So I think it'd be pretty cool. But like I think you and your daughter would enjoy it, absolutely.
So it's nothing that's going to be a little too weird for dad and daughter.
No, I mean there's some adult themes going on in there, but there's nothing explicit that's happening, like as far as like,
cool.
like you ain't gonna have no awkward situation where you're looking at a sex scene and your daughter's just kind of fidgeting to the side, you trying not to look at her, and y'all just like, oh my god. No, it's nothing like that.
Right.
But there are some adult themed like marriage kind of situations. There's some adult themes for stuff with like trauma. Ashley,
she likes drama. So that'd work out,
Yeah, I mean, I said trauma, but also drama. Yeah, there's drama too. Yeah. It is kind of like they do have a warning before it happens, but there's a particular part where about suicide. That does occur. So if that might be a trigger warning for some people, then like they do let you know ahead of time that you could like skip that part and still have like if you skip it, you'll get a positive outcome out of it. But you can skip that part if need be. But like, yeah, it's a cool game. I really enjoyed it. I think it really nails story wise. It's strong in comparison to a lot of the other developers that do those kind of games like Quantic Dream and super massive games, Telltale. I think this one is definitely up there when it comes to like the narrative choices in the story and characters.
Well, that's good to hear, man. All right, well, I'm looking forward to playing that with her then.
Absolutely. I think we have gotten through all that. Oh, channel membership. So like I wanted to make sure that we highlight our channel members that have the 10%ers that have supported us, ever since we started the channel memberships. Forte, I think you can take a look at your side real quick. But shout out to Cat Daddy Lurk. Shout out to Truth Serum. Shout out to Big Mike, Hustle and Motivate, Smokes 901, Erodimus, Ramon Terrell, Homie One Kenobi, Replicant Bunty, Sir Taz 117, Corey Hale, Stardust Acero, that guy Smitty on my side. Forte, do you have yours?
Yeah, I do. Shout out to I'm a Rich Swag Lord. Shout out to Hustle and Motivate, Ramon Terrell, Replicant, Hargi Chani, Sir Taz, Stardust, Brap, Corey Hale, Cat Daddy Lurk, Erodimus, the homie Slumbo Backslap, DJ Oris, and that guy Smitty.
All right, and I did want to shout out to people in the chat. I forgot to do that. That guy Smitty was the first one here. What's up, bro? Blade X, Michi Dies a Lot, Arcade, Stone King, K Asante in the house. Shout out to him and the Gaming Circle podcast. Dr. Sirakis, Pixel Slapper, Spider 13, Truth Serum, Cat Daddy. I said Pixel Slapper, right? Right. Yeah. Okay. Franco Tech. And the Ashen Luca's in the house. What's up, Luca? And Ramon Terrell in Texas. What's going on, guys? Glad to see you guys here once again. Let's get into these little mini topics that we're going run through real quick. Nothing too big here. Then we'll get into our big main topic. So the first one is that the Last of Us remake has been stated, from what I saw from a actual developer working on the game, that it will be coming very soon to PC after its release. This was Force. I think I sent you that tweet, right?
You did.
Yeah. So this is Jonathan. Man, I'm about to butcher this guy's last name, but Benanio, Jonathan Benanio. He is a senior environment texture artist at Naughty Dog and has been working in the industry for 16 years. Someone asked him, they were super hyped for the game coming to PC, getting a nice upgrade, and what you said, amazing work, blah 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 blah. And this guy said, "We're glad to hear your hype, man. PC version should be out a bit later, but very soon after the PS5 release." I wanted to bring this up because this seems to be like something that's countering what a lot of narratives are about. Oh, well, yeah, PC's gonna get these games, but they're gonna be like 3 years later. Like, it seems like that's definitely not the case. That the whole 3 years later thing that has occurred with the current games that have gone to PC from PlayStation that are first party, are mostly due to the fact that those, when they made the decision to start putting those games on PC, those games were already that old. So, I mean, OBN, what do you think about this? Do you think that, like, we're gonna start seeing that it's not just the Last of Us remake, but we're gonna start seeing more Sony first party games coming to PC a lot sooner than what we've seen previously?
I mean, I've been saying it for a while. I mean, I know like Sony doesn't really have the infrastructure right now to like go day and date, and who knows like if that's going to be a few years or towards the end of the generation or whatever before they get to that point. But I think it's going to be sooner and sooner. And it really doesn't. It doesn't. I know this conversation's been had so many damn times, but I guess I'll say it again. I think it does nothing but help Sony and their ecosystem, and really just gamers in general. Because it's like, yeah, you might sell some more consoles, but if like, and think about you as a PC gamer, Slomo. Like, if you buy a PlayStation, which you do, right, to play the exclusives, that's what you go there for, is exclusives, right? But at the end of the day, they're not getting all that, all that extra money, the third party stuff. You're still going over to the PC to get all that stuff, right? So
Right.
It's really, and so those gamers that are PC gamers that would have bought your console that now won't buy their console. So at worst, you're gonna maybe take a smaller margin on that stuff, but you also gain, on the flip side of it, you gain a much better what's the word I'm looking for? Like, for no pun intended here, but like a halo effect, where when you have people on multiple ecosystems playing it at the same time, it's more people talking about it, and it actually drives the marketing and just like the mind share and stuff. So I actually think they'll gain more overall software sales the closer they can bring these together. And yeah, they'll lose like few console sales, but they're not going to lose. They'll probably gain a lot in the software sales, because when it comes to PC, it's going to be coming when it's hotter, right? Like when it's still fresh and people are still hyped about things. So, hopefully more of that happens. I think it's good for Sony. It's going to allow them, if the more they start bringing stuff to PC, the the more they can spread their wings and try other things. And they are gearing up for all the SCAS stuff, which they're going to need the PC community, I think, for that. And it's really, there's really no downside. I mean, other than people doing the console war stuff, but outside of that, I think what we're going to end up seeing is they're going to start selling, more of these overall when they bring these releases closer together.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Forte, what do you think, man?
Whole slate, baby.
The whole slate.
Always,
well, I mean, we know we're getting the whole
always
slate, but
slate.
is the whole slate coming sooner than? Are we getting closer and closer to day and date, or
what's
is it
going to make them more money?
Say again.
What's going to make them more money?
I would say. Well, okay, so there's the whole argument that day and date won't make them more money or whatever. Like, I don't quite get that, but like, I think if someone is interested in getting the game, that it doesn't matter if it's later or not, that they're still definitely going to buy the game when it's available. I just think for PC gamers that
I think it's always
it benefits them even more just to get it sooner than later. I mean, if the game, like for example, the Last of Us remake, if it comes out in December, like I'm still getting it. But if it was coming out a year later, I would still get it. Mm-hmm.
You're not buying it on PS. Okay, so this is the thing.
I'm still buying it. It's still a sale.
You're still buying it. But I've always been a protagonist for the fact that I think things sell better when they first come out. It's like there's gonna be people that's gonna buy it after the fact, but you eliminate the possibility of people that wanted to play the game, but they either don't have the platform like the PlayStation 5 or something like that, and by the time that it does come out on PC or something like that, people look at it as like, well, I already heard about the game, seen this, seen that, already know what it's about. I really don't need to play the game. So much as I know a lot of people like that. And
but the word is zeitgeist. That's the one I could not think of a second ago. Like, you get that zeitgeist.
He's been rummaging on that for a minute.
Yeah, I'm like, damn. Like, where the hell? What's the word? Like, it's that thing where it's like, I've been kind of on the fence, but everybody's talking about it, so I guess I'm gonna. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think most gamers who don't buy everything have bought games like just based on the hype cycle, right? Yeah, like Elden Ring. There's a bunch of people that never played those games. And who knows?
Go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. No. You go ahead now.
I was going to say, think about Elden Ring is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
How many people bought that game on? How many people? Like, a lot of people went out and bought that game based on the opinions of other people. Now, if that game wasn't available on PlayStation, it was coming to PC later. Or like they wanted to play it on PC and it wasn't available day one on PC. Then those people may have never bought the game because the excitement of buying that game and playing it along everybody else is gone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hold on, but it's a brand new game. So if it's a brand new game and you're really, really hyped for it, you're just going to go get a PlayStation. You're only getting because you already have the platform available for it, and you probably don't have anything else to play. The term system sellers is still a thing. Like, there's games that are system sellers. Like, they sell systems. Like, people buy the system because the game is that, like, they are so hyped to play that game, they're not going to wait. Now, some people in the chat have, and I do kind of agree with some people in the chat and what they're saying in regards to double dipping, because if I recall correctly, some of the stats that PlayStation that came out with, and I think it may have been Jim Ryan who said it, or it may have been Herman Hulst, but just like a few years ago, they talked about how a third of PC gamers own the PlayStation 4. And so with that percentage, if you think about it, right, take Horizon Forbidden West, for example. You're going to get people who are interested on who want to buy that game on PC buying the game. Whether they are the kind of people that are going to buy a PlayStation or not, right? They're still going to buy the game on PC. But you have the potential of getting the double dipper. That if 33%,
I think it's a lot less people double dip than y'all think.
But you're still gonna get the sale regardless.
Well, no, I said, but I think you'll get more if you did it everywhere day one. Because, like, what did they say?
Well,
what did they
this is
say?
what I'm saying.
Horizon. Well, what did they say?
You're
What
getting
was the
zero double difference at that point.
No, because you're gonna get because you're still gonna sell to people. I still think if the game released everywhere, you were still gonna sell the million anyway. Now you're just gonna sell more.
Or say,
So,
hold on. If the Last of
excitement
Us
is there.
remake came out day and date on PC, I'm not buying it on PlayStation 5. Well, I'm already not getting it on PlayStation
No,
5
you would
anyway.
buy it on PC.
Well, that's probably not even a good example because I wasn't going to get it on PlayStation because I've already played the game twice already. But like, okay, Horizon Forbidden West. Then, if that came out day and date on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC, I would just buy it one time on PC.
Yeah,
Whereas now, I might I already got it on PlayStation 5. I might get it again on PC when it comes out next year on PC.
So can I jump in real quick? Because I'm going to have to actually take. I'm sorry, Slomo. I'm going to actually have to take Forte's side and outvote you on this one.
Oh my God! Here we go.
And I'm going to give you actually some I don't know if data is the right word, but it's something objective to kind of go by. So I actually talked to an EA developer that said that what she found when they. What EA kind of ended up finding, like with their own store, and like the fact that they were still available to all these people on PC, but when they made their games more available through another launcher like Steam, they would actually sell a lot more. And what they found out is that people, like, if they really like an ecosystem, like that will weigh more heavily a lot of times than the game. Now there's going to be exceptions to that rule, right? Like if God of War, if you have a PlayStation 4 and a PC, you're probably not going to wait in God of War. But the thing is like most games don't fall into that category. Most games kind of like, there's a lot of good games, and so for and I think like I can relate to this as well, but people will choose the ecosystem and over the game, because like there's usually enough to play within that ecosystem. They like to go where they're comfortable, where where they have everything else, their achievements, all this other stuff. And like Microsoft actually, based on their data too, found that when they started releasing on PC, they started selling more than their projections because of that whole like zeitgeist, or that more people talking about it at launch and things. So yeah, you will have potential for double dippers you lose, but the flip side is that you get more of what the data is kind of showing them, is they get more of the other type, especially on those next tier. Like if it's not a God of War or Spider-Man, where people are going to go out and buy a console, like if you're talking about like a Days Gone is probably going to sell a lot more if it comes day and date on both than it would have if doing that staggered kind of release. And so in most games I'd say would fall into that category. So
Right.
but and again, this comes from a developer that said what she ended up finding is that people like it just like you think about it, like PC gamers, it's just jumping over to another launcher. They're like, I'll just wait. So same thing goes with the console. It's like, I'll jump over and play my PlayStation 4 in the past, my Xbox.
Okay, I do see what you're talking about there. That's the Steam. Okay, so like, all right, in the PC community, right, there are people who are all about the freedom, all about like they don't have allegiances. And then there are the PC gamers that are really like they talk that talk, but they really just Steam fanboys. They're Valve fanboys, and those are the ones that like Epic Game Store gets Borderlands 3 for 6 months exclusive, and they're just like, oh no, I'll wait the 6 months. Okay, all right, good luck to you. I'm the kind of person that's like, all right, I don't care where the game is, which launcher it is, it's a launcher. It's free. I download it, I install it, I sign on, and then I get the game, and then I play the game. Like I don't I don't care about reviews. Like all the guys they'll be like, oh, but what about my Steam reviews? What about my Steam community? Screw all them. I don't care about none of them people and weirdos.
There's a lot of fanboys, a lot of Steam fanboys.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Steam fanboys out here that be doing the most, and will wait on games that they could be enjoying, that like they actually just like they're just really just hurting themselves. So I do understand that point, right? That like there are people that's just like, well, I'll wait. But I think there are also like the PC gamers like myself that we don't wait for anything, especially if it's a game that we really like and that we're really hyped for. Now, the Last of Us remake is a little bit of an exception for myself because I've played through the campaign twice already. So for me, it's
it
like
falls in that next category.
it's
where
that
it probably would do better if it came out day and date, honestly. So, I agree with you, Slow-Mo. There's definitely there's definitely people like you. I just think there's more people that are like the Steam fanboy than there is people like you. And there's more people that are like the PlayStation fanboy and the Xbox. There's people that just like they like their console, they like or their PC, and they like the storefront and all the features that come with it, and they will stick with that. You have to have something special that just makes them break that. Otherwise, like a lot of these other games, like these secondary ones that are like, oh yeah, I might buy that if that was on, for the PC gamer, if that was on Steam, but I'll wait and see if it comes there someday. Maybe I'll buy it, but I'm not going to go, play the PlayStation right now. And that's just the way they are, and that's what Microsoft found out, and that's why they say they don't lose sales when they port games to Steam. They think they actually gain them. That's
also a little bit of a special case with them, and I'll say this point, and we can move on because this is supposed to be a mini topic turned into a big topic.
Sorry.
No, there's no problem. Their launcher, their Xbox beta app, as well as prior to whatever the heck they were using before Xbox Companion, with any of the Windows, Microsoft,
they're all
stuff,
garbage.
It's all garbage.
Yeah.
So PC gamers, and I'm one of them that I got Game Pass on PC, so I will play games on PC. But like for the Master Chief Collection, it's been at least 2 games that I personally have I was playing them through the Windows Store, and the performance was so bad, the issues were so bad, the bugs and issues and all the hiccups were so frequent that I just went and bought it on Steam and didn't have a single issue ever since. And I know people who just on PC gamers who are straight up just like, Forza Horizon 5 came out, they didn't even think about getting it through Game Pass. They were just like, I'm buying it on Steam because I'm not going to deal with the foolishness. And it's just like that's kind of a special case, because it's like they're really like the worst launcher on PC. So it's that's why they had to put the games on Steam, because they're just shooting themselves in the foot, missing out on sales. That you're not going to get these PC gamers to get Game Pass and play those games at the Windows Store when you've proven that your software sucks. So
hopefully they fix that. That's definitely a weakness. So I won't argue with that.
I will say the game bar has gotten a lot better. The Xbox game bar, but the store itself, the Xbox beta app, it's slow, it's sluggish. Sometimes the updates don't come through correctly. Sometimes it doesn't acknowledge what you want to do, and it's just like, I don't understand how a software company is this bad at this stuff, but whatever. Our next mini topic was that the PS5 console, and I saw this today actually, and I saw it a couple times because I actually was just working, and I saw a queue come up for PlayStation Direct. And I remember my time, the hell I went through for that month of trying to get a PlayStation 5 and going. PS Direct was going every day, and every day I was always 30 minutes away from getting into the store when they would say it was sold out. But now, yesterday, I was able to get into the store. If I wanted to buy a PS5, I could. Today, I saw a tweet, and it's had been up for 20 minutes. And at this point, they still had PS5 consoles available, but there was no queue. You just click on the store, just go right in and buy yourself a PS5. And when I clicked on it, they still had the digital version available, and then they had the bundle for Horizon Forbidden West available for both the regular and the digital. So I kind of wanted to talk about how PS5 availability seems to be leveling out, at least somewhat in the United States or North America, and what that may do for what we've been seeing with the Xbox showing a dominant showing in North America compared to PlayStation. Do we see well, I'll start with Forte first. Forte, do you see PlayStation starting to win some of these months in the NPD in North America?
I already saw it's been leveled out for a while. People that wanted PlayStations got those PlayStations. That's why we're still sitting on them. Like in my area alone, we're sitting on probably well over 150 systems.
Nice.
I do think it's like I do think in certain areas where they're not as lucky to get as many from certain retailers, that's where you'll still see a lot of people running to the store to get them where they're not going to be really available on shelves. But I think they equalized probably like a month, 2 months ago in certain parts of the country and stuff. You'll see it even out a little bit more. I always thought that Microsoft always does very, very well in their home country. It just comes to the other territories when it comes down to that is how they do in other places.
Especially Europe. They're really need to gain ground in Europe and more than
exactly else. So I mean the thing is have they hit a critical mass where people don't mind just going into the store picking up an Xbox, because that was something that was kind of taboo last generation. And, you know, all of the negative press from 2013 just followed them throughout the whole generation, and now, you know, brand new system, Game Pass being a catalyst.
I mean, all that's fine. About PlayStation though, when you said you got like hundreds in your area that are available, so you like someone could walk into a GameStop and see PlayStations up on the shelf.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't.
Yeah, my store. Well, my store's out of them already. I've been out for like a week, but there's stores in my area that's like within 15 minutes of me that got well more than 8 or 9 at their store. So.
Oh, okay. ODM, do you see this being a now that supply has been fixed in North America? Do you think that's going to change how the MPD results have been so far this year?
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough data to really predict what's happening or going to happen, because I'm guessing in Forte, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, they haven't really been doing the digital, right? It's mostly
they still do digital.
Oh, they do the digital. Okay, because I always wonder, like, once that's more available, if that's going to, you know, help push more sales as well. But really until you go through holidays where you have stock, it's really hard to kind of gauge the demand. You know, I think worldwide they still are, you know, higher demand just based off of like what things are selling on, you know, I guess I always look at like eBay, like who's selling it more there. That gives you an idea what the demand, you know, supply demand is right, you know, at the moment. But you know, like I think it's just too early to kind of read into it. These days we are in the summertime. We are, you know, people finally getting out a little bit after, you know, being locked down for a couple of years, you know, heck, even I, you know, we were talking before the show, even I getting out. So, you know, it's like, I think this is probably a period of time where it's going to be maybe this might be the slowest time we're going to have for a while. I'm not saying it's that slow, but, you know, being summer, you know, not a lot of AAAs are out right this second. And, you know, and it's post the worst part of the pandemic. So people are socializing, and I think we'll see more. We'll be able to kind of gather more. I honestly, at the end of the day, I think this generation, they're both going to keep selling a lot, and I think in North America it's going to be pretty close. You know, so that, I mean, we'll have to wait and see for more evidence beyond that.
Cool. And for our last mini topic. Let me give my opinion about it. I do think that we're going to definitely see the PS5 win a few months here. It's going to be probably a little bit more of a back and forth in North America, as I think that the two consoles here are probably the most competitive that they are anywhere else. Like usually, like PlayStation has either a large lead or a small lead in sales consistently worldwide, but I think that when it comes to North America, it's definitely going to be way more competitive here than it's been than it'll be anywhere else. The last thing I wanted to bring up is hopefully this works great. Oh, there we go. So the developer for Warhammer 40K Darktide came out with an update today saying that today we decided to delay the launch of Warhammer 40,000 Darktide to November 30th for PC. Xbox X and S will launch shortly after PC. with a specific launch date to come. So the game has been delayed, and I'm like November 30th is literally one day before December. I'm thinking more than likely the game's not going to make it in 2022 for Xbox Series X and S, but they said the delaying a game is perhaps one of the most difficult decisions a developer faces, and one we are not excited about making. Still, we hope this speaks to our commitment to taking the time and necessary and doing whatever it takes to get you the best possible game. But we have been humbled by the great feedback on the game so far. We also need more time to improve stability, performance, and to mature key systems. Each is critical to making sure we have the best possible experience for you, the players. And so, yada yada yada, technical test, betas, and advanced at launch, blah 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 blah. So, all that said, OBN, what do you think about this game getting delayed?
I just welcome to the club. I don't know what its original internal date was, but this has been a light year for AAA games. I think this was projected to be what was the year that was going to be impacted the most due to the delays that came from the pandemic. And even the big games we are getting this year were probably scheduled to be coming out last year. So it's just one of those things. It's just we were told earlier in the year by I think Schreier leaked it, some other people leaked it, where you're saying there's going to be a lot of delays, and so we're just seeing more announcements. None of it surprises me. So I think at this point it feels like a surprise would be something staying on schedule. To be honest with you, with AAA. So
you think about the PC version still coming out this year, but the Xbox version taking a little bit of extra time.
Probably has to do with their just the financials and trying to get something into the fiscal year. Also, if you're going to prioritize one or the other, Warhammer is a bigger IP on PC than it is on console, right? Like that IP resonates with I know the RTS does really really well. So yeah, that's not really a big surprise. I do think it does look bad a little bit. I mean, I don't know it's a huge black eye, but it looks bad a little bit on on the Xbox side, I think, because it was a Game Pass release, and I think most people thought it would hit both at the same time. So that might be something they need to kind of work out with their partners going forward. But I get it from the company standpoint. If you've got to prioritize one, you're gonna try to make your financials, you prioritize where you had the biggest base, and I think their biggest base is definitely on PC.
Forte, do you think because it's still coming out on PC before the Xbox version, that because this was supposed to be a day and date Game Pass release, that it'll still be on PC Game Pass, or would it probably would they hold the PC Game Pass release off? What do you think?
Why not? Why? I'm trying to figure out why would they do that. I mean, it's still coming to Game Pass in some type of form. It just isn't coming to the console version. I mean, you got to think. I mean, their first party titles they still released in Game Pass on PC when it came to like Flight Sim and stuff like that. That stuff still came. So if they got a partnership with them just because the Xbox version was delayed, why? I mean, you would think that partnership is based mostly on Game Pass, not just because it's on Xbox. So I still expect it to probably still come to the PC Game Pass day and day, just because that's a market shift. Unless they already announced that it wasn't going to be available on Game Pass PC, which they have done in the past. Not all games that hit Game Pass PC too day and day.
Well, yeah, I think that was also so like something that they have shored up considerably since that used to be the case. A lot of these like games that will launch they will be Xbox Game Pass launch games, but they wouldn't be PC launch games. It was mostly due to the fact that the developers weren't even trying to put the game on the Windows Store in the first place, because sales was terrible. The performance was bad because they weren't like developing it in the same way they would develop it and put it on Steam or GOG or Epic Game Store. Now, all that said, ever since Xbox made the decision to, like, they basically lowered their revenue split to, I think, like whatever revenue split Epic Game Store is doing is what they did for the Windows Store as well.
90-10.
Yeah.
So like it's a lot more beneficial to developers to still put that game up there, and that has helped them allow to say, I can't remember the last time a day and date game coming to Game Pass was not available in Game Pass PC. So now they're mostly available in both now. That's why I was
Yeah,
kind of wondering.
if it's available on both, then it's gonna hit Game Pass PC day and date.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. But I can't think that is. Oh, hold on, real quick. Shout out to Gaming with Persona in the house with the $10 super chat. Shout out to you, Persona. Says big shout out to the DPS boys. How's it going, bro? Hope you're having a great Thursday. Hope your day's been good, and hope you haven't been scammed like some people out here. Let me stop. I'm being messy. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. But yeah, it's been. I hope you're having a good day, bro. I guess we can move on to our main topics. And the first one up is changes at 343 Industries and Halo Infinite in general. And like we said before, one bad insider here has a podcast. He says he's not an insider, but come on, he's being modest. Anyway, he has a podcast called Yeah Had Me at Halo. And
Yes,
I
sir.
definitely wanted to talk to you because you and I had a conversation earlier this week, and we were discussing some things that I wasn't quite aware of, and things that have been going on at 343 Industries, and just was wondering if you give me a second because I just messed something up. Some things that I think most people don't quite know about yet. That have been going on. So, like, first thing I would say is, well, what are your thoughts on Halo Infinite right now in general? Like where the state of the game is, where 343 Industries is as a developer trying to get content out for this game. Like, what are your thoughts on that overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most people that are Halo fans, even somebody that, as I mentioned early in the show, that plays a lot of it. I do love the game loop. There's a lot of issues right now with the game. Uh, I a few months ago, if somebody would have argued with me, though, they should have delayed the game. I probably would have argued against it. I would have said, "Oh, it's a live service; they'll be okay." Like they're picking up some data that will allow them to fix the game faster. In hindsight,
so
it
you
changed.
were in that camp, huh?
I was in that camp, but I will say, like, in hindsight, as stuff kind of started coming out, it's like, man, it's like this game this is a game that should have been a September release. That we got kind of what they had in late last year, and and that's kind of how I feel about it right now. Like I feel that this is a game that's gone through a lot of changes, and they've had some struggles with the engine. They had a lot of contractors, and just there's been a lot of mistakes from management standpoint. And I won't rehash all that stuff, but the game where it's at today, it's a game with a really solid gameplay foundation, but all the stuff surrounding that are either mid to below mid when it comes to progression, when it comes to battle pass, even performance. Like all my friends on PC say they just won't play it on PC until they fix it on PC. They won't use mouse and keyboard with it right now.
Mouse and keyboard is very bad.
Yeah, there's desync, issues still. There's like technical netcode issues, and obviously everybody talks about the content, but I honestly feel like all these other things surrounding it, between just having basics like the browsers and the sharing, like all that stuff needs to be kind of brought up to speed, so that when they do get the content and people might want to check it out again, that all that other supporting stuff is in place. So it's like a house with a really nice foundation, but it has no roof on it right now. It's kind of how I would describe the game. Now that said, I do think there is reason for hope and optimism. With live service, nothing is guaranteed that it's going to come back, but I do think there is some things working behind the scenes, and also that are not behind the scenes. We've seen stuff with Forge. I think that should help stem the bleeding, at least get it moving in the right direction. I don't think it's going to bring the mainstream all back, but I think it's going to do a lot to kind of make the community happy and build upon that. And then, like when I look at some of the challenges 343's had over really since their existence, they came in and they were a studio that wanted to kind of find their own identity. And I think that
didn't let them.
well, no, I would actually, so if you kind of go back and and you even listen to some interviews with guys, God, I can't, right now, not all the names are coming back to me. People that were part of of Bungie in the past that wanted to come back were not allowed to. And for the most part, there's some Bungie people, but when it comes to the leadership creative positions, they really wanted to create their own identity. And I think that sort of friction between this is Halo's identity and this is where we want to go is always kind of, it's caused a lot of creative dissension. And Josh Holmes talked about that when he left the studio. He said Halo 4 and 5, they wasted half the development cycles kind of arguing over the direction. And he says 5, you could see that it was meant to be a much bigger game, and we just ran out of time, that kind of stuff. So
about that real quick, let's zero in on that real quick. They argued about the direction for half that development cycle. It seems, and based upon things that I've heard, from, I can't say who's told me this, but that there are these fiefdoms in 343 where there people have various factions have been pulling and tugging with where they think 343 should be on, or where Halo should be. And I know, shout out to Capono 5150 in the chat. He said we thought Joseph, as Joseph Staten, was going to turn everything around. Isn't it difficult?
We'll get to that.
Yeah, isn't it difficult to turn things around when it seems like everyone's being pulled in various different directions? And I've always kind of looked at because I've seen this happen in say BioWare, for example, and it always really comes down to a lack of leadership at the top, of basically saying this is the direction we're going, kill all that other noise, that's not what we're doing. Everyone has to be on the same page, right? So about that specifically, have you heard the same thing about there being too many factions going on at 343, and what is Staten dealing with that now? Is that what why we're seeing so many different changes lately?
Yeah, I mean, so in Capono, is that who said it? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean that's actually a good point, and we'll kind of get to that. And so I'm going to also say that I'm taking things that I've heard from developers who've left on and off the record, and I'm using some of my own educated guesses of what it actually means. But I heard from somebody who left, and she said that every time they changed creative directors 3 times on the campaign, in the middle of development, and she said every single time they did that the next person would come in and be like, okay, well, this stuff that we were telling you to do, stop doing that, and we want you to do this stuff now. And then there has been kind of battles in the arguments over well, what's the battle pass or the progression going to be and stuff like that. And so there's been a lot of this lack of a cohesive vision, and I think it all stems back to the foundation of 343, where it's we wanted to bring in people that don't even like Halo so they can pull it in a new direction. But the problem is that that's okay. Anybody who's been part of a project that works knows that could be okay at some point, but at some point you need somebody to go, okay, guys, we heard everybody, this is where we're going to go. And that's what a Rod Ferguson's always been good at, right? Rod would always come in and these messy projects, he'd pull everybody together. It's nope, we're going to streamline it. We're going this direction. I've heard you guys. He even said that with Gears, and I don't necessarily agree with the way he went, but he even said, we thought about going all these other things, we considered that, and we decided we were going to just make a Gears as Gears, with 4 and 5, and they were super efficient from that, right? Because he made that decision. So going back to Staten, he already has, if you are to believe some of the stuff that's out there, he's already streamlined just to get the game out in 2020. They streamlined some aspects of the campaign already.
I did hear that.
It does sound like he has. It does sound like he has a more firm vision. And again, this is kind of conjecture or whatever on my part, but it does seem like he does know what he wants it to be. He is willing. And if you go back all the way to the Halo 2 documentary, he's like somebody as like a leader that's always been like, you know what? No, we're gonna, I'd rather have less that's, like feature creep and scope and make it fun, and quality than try to be like, broaden it and just it, like that's what he did with Halo 2. Like they cut a lot of Halo 2 to get it out and make it good. And so that's my gut right now. Number one is I think that's what he's doing. But 343 is a company that is a corporation. Basically, it is an old Microsoft studio with with a lot of baggage, and I don't think even with smaller companies, you're not going to turn them around overnight, especially game development. I do think if we are to assume that he is making these changes, that changes usually require you to go slower before, things might get worse before they get better from an efficiency, because you have to bring in your people. And I think that's what we're seeing now. Like they got rid of we've just seen a few people that were at 343 for a really long time. God, why the hell is it like Sparth is somebody left who was part of the
art director left as well. The guy, long-term art director there.
Yeah, and then their design guy, Jerry Hook. Jerry Hook has been, and he was like the guy over top of a lot of the progression and things like that. And by the way, if you want to start reading into things, like somebody pointed it out to me, it's like when Jerry Hook left, he took like Halo off of some of his profiles and stuff. It doesn't seem like it was a good divorce. It wasn't like, hey, I'm just, hey guys, this has been great, and I'm just going to explore things. Like it does seem like there was some contention there at the end with some of these people. And then here's the other interesting thing that I don't think people are considering. If you go back and you think about what their philosophy always was, like, we don't want Bungie creatives in there. We don't want to do too many old Bungie maps. We want to do
now
our
they're
own
bringing
thing.
they're doing some. They got Bungie people coming back, like as we saw.
Paul Bertone is like somebody that was Halo CE 2 and 3. And he kept growing in his role. He's worked with Staten. And so this guy's coming in hired by Staten. So this is like a Staten team. So my opinion is that, my educated opinion right now is that Staten is kind of unifying the vision of it. But I do think it will take time, and it might lose this might be a thing where, I hate to say this, but like anybody who's like thinking that we're going to have like 3-month seasons with tons of content coming up, if you look at all of the people who've left recently, I can't see how they become more, unless there's just some magic to the engine suddenly. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think it's probably going to be, they're going to rely on Forge and the community to kind of carry this for the next year or more, maybe, until they can get their people in there. Hopefully get some more full-time people. They relied too much on contractors. There's been some guys that have talked about that on Twitter that left the studio. Like there was what's his name? Colby. Like, I think he said it on Twitter. Like, he's like, I would have stayed there, but but as a contractor, it was better for me to go get a full-time job somewhere else. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, like they lost good talent because of that reliance on contractors. So hopefully that's something that's getting fixed in there. We don't know the exact answer to that. Certain Affinity is hiring a lot of people right now, and they are basically half their studios supporting Halo right now. So or if not more. So there's
a lot of Certain Affinity or a lot of former Bungie developers as well too, right? Yeah. So
and Holberman too. Holberman was actually the he's the guy who basically was head of multiplayer for classic Halo. So if anybody wonders if that's in good hands with Certain Affinity, probably as good a hands as anybody. He understands sandbox and he understands Halo as well as anybody. So but yeah, go ahead, Solomon. Sorry.
No problem. So we're looking at a future with Halo Infinite where probably for the next 2 years there's not going to be much of a change with the cadence of content in seasons, because they really are kind of retooling and moving people and getting rid of the dissenters and the people that really aren't like not a good fit, and bringing as Staten is molding his team, in addition to Certain Affinity's Battle Royale really not being ready. Like, do you have any idea like at what stage the Battle Royale was in? Like, is it in pre-production? Is it at least in production? Or is it something that's like halfway done or whatever?
Nobody's told me anything on that, but the thing I would say, point to, is that they've been hiring, and generally, and I think anybody who's been following game development knows that, like, when if you're still hiring a lot of people, you're probably not towards the end of production, right? Like usually, full production is going to be, with the full staff is going to be over a year. So I don't know. I'm just guessing. So they're like, nobody try to take this as like, I'm telling you this is from an inside source. I'm trying to take an educated guess here that, based on the fact that they recently kind of solidified this relationship, that they've recently posted a lot of job positions for this game. It tells me that it's probably not something that's right around the corner. I mean, again, I miss, they also got another game they're working on too. But so I can't be exact on that. But my expectations, just kind of keeping them tempered for now, outside of Forge, which honestly I am very hyped about.
I've seen some good things from Forge, but as you already know with me, I'm on like my own little quiet boycott of Halo Infinite until changes are made, and so like, and I've said this before. I'm pretty sure a lot of the chat's about to go, here goes slow-mo again, but like the whole Bonobo situation for me was just kind of like the last straw, and not necessarily the fact that there was like somebody there that would be that disrespectful and do that. Like, that was bad enough as it is, but for me it was just more of the response to it was, let's cover up, let's make a very bad excuse of what happened that is easily disproved, and then expect people to just accept it and move on. And for myself, it's just like that was kind of the last straw for me. I do wonder when it comes to leadership and how in the aftermath of that issue, like, when is there going to be like a change of leadership to the point where we can actually have some confidence in 343's ability to handle these situations fairly and accurately, as well as deal with the issues with the game in a timely manner? Because I've the whole DSync issue, for example, like I didn't really like their initial response, but that was very we don't have the people available right now to fix that. It's just like, what?
Yeah, well, honestly, that's probably was my tipping point in terms of like, okay, maybe the whole and again, I tend to be more optimistic, and I understand game development's hard, so I do give a lot of benefit of the doubt, especially post-pandemic. But that's where I'm like, okay, no, this isn't just normal live service post-pandemic. This is like, how do you not have enough people to deal with the desync when you have a game that's built around competitive and of everything, of all games, right? This is not like just a cat. This is not like this is a game where connection, preciseness, all that stuff really matters. It's a really competitive game.
Right.
At least what they have out today is. And so so a lot of that points back to the contractor situation, and the fact that they've lost some people, and they just I don't think they have everybody they need right now to do the things they need to do. And like you asked the question about the leadership, I do think and this just might be my old school Halo or Bungie, fanboy kicking in, but Staten does seem like somebody. He gives me vibes like Phil Spencer did when he took over Xbox. Like, he does seem like somebody who's sure of what he wants and what this should be, and he is composed, and I think he's a good communicator. And from what we understand, he kind of came in right off the bat and kind of took control. So I feel confident that eventually he'll have a team in place. And I think the thing people need to a lot of people don't necessarily recognize is like, yeah, Bonnie is the head of the studio, but 343 has like a game side, and then they have the side that deals with the comics, the books, the TV show, all that stuff. And so somebody's going to kind of be sitting over top of that. But I do think this is really Halo Infinite, I think, is Staten's game to either make get on the right track or not. And I do have I do feel confident, more confident than I have over anybody else that they've had in place. really since 343 took over. So they've always had talented people. You go back to 4, 5, and even Infinite. There's always things they do really, really well, but then they just never really kind of get it all together, right? It's always like, and it's because of that. It's because of that, pulling in different directions, and things just don't ever come together. I do think that I feel pretty good about the potential that Staten is the guy to do that, though. So if I'm to be honest.
Actually, Forte, you've been really quiet throughout this entire topic. What are your thoughts about some of the things that we were discussing here?
So I'm just gonna give you the too long didn't listen. Oh my god. So I thought I would never say this, but I am going to say it. The same thing that happened with Master Chief Collection has literally just happened with me with this game. Yeah. I really wanted to play that game back in 2014, but it didn't work and everything was busted on it. And it had every opportunity to garner my attention to want to come back to Halo. And this game, even though yes, I will always probably still come back. I'll always come back and do the campaign stuff, but having a long-term place inside of the Halo universe is kind of not for me anymore, especially when it comes to like the direction that, well, not the direction, but with this game. Now, if they ever made another one, like, who knows if they're ever going to make another Halo? This might just be it because it's called Infinite. We don't know. If they ever made if they ever,
you say that. I'm gonna wait till you're done because I think that's something that like
exactly.
I think Staten might want to.
Oh, I think so too.
Cut bait with Infinite and just make a whole new Halo.
Too. Because for me, if this is what Halo, if this is like, this game is kind of already sour for me at this point. There's pretty much nothing they can kind of do to get me to want to come back and play the game on a consistent basis, like I was doing when it first came out. When the love affair for the game was your love of Halo, the game, the gunplay, the campaign, the story, all that stuff. It wasn't the greatest, but it was still Halo. But then you just fell back into that trap where it's like, but this is 343's Halo. And they remind you of that every step of the freaking way, instead of you just thinking about it just being you should never think about the developer behind the game. You should always think about the game. The game is what makes the developer, the sought after thing in this whole thing. When they make another game, it makes you want to say, yo, this is gonna be fire. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. That's why everybody ran over to Destiny when it came out, because Bungie built the name off of Halo. No one knew what Destiny was. They just knew that it was Bungie making it. And now it's the same thing happening to 343, but for the wrong reasons. And every time I look at this game and just hear more and more stuff come out, and I feel sorry for everybody at that studio, because they're just losing amazing fans of this game by the boatloads. Because as much as people love the gameplay, love everything that's going on with the game, like you said, OBM, the mainstream may not come back. The people that I think there's those diehard people that, every game has them, those diehard people that will always be there. And I don't think Microsoft will never let it die, so it will always be a thing. But as long as there's a Halo Infinite, it just feels like the stench of everything that happened with this game will just continue to move with this game until they do drastic changes to it, to the point where I don't even know what they could do. And B, or like someone said, maybe cut bait with this and come out with something completely different. Because I honestly believe, as of right now, that's what this game absolutely needs. That was the one thing I said a year and a half ago when they delayed the game the first time, and people kept saying there's only going to be a year, and it ended up only being 1 year. And I was like, the things that's wrong with this game need longer than a year. And then Microsoft came out and had it come out a year later. And I kept saying, from the moment they said that, I was like, Microsoft chose the anniversary date of Halo over the well-being of their number one franchise because they wanted to celebrate a date on a calendar more than they cared about the game and the players that will be playing that game on a long-term, plan after that. And I mean, it's all business. We understand it, but I'm making a business decision too. It's like, I would normally go out and buy every little thing Halo. I just find myself not doing anything when it comes to Halo anymore. As much as they come out with new game modes, I'll jump over there and I'll be like, play one match. Like, I really don't want to do this because it's not that it's not fun, because nobody could deny Halo isn't fun, but it's the reminder of everything that when something goes wrong in a game, you get desync or your melee whiff or something like that. You're just reminded that this game isn't where it needs to be, and I just choose not to do that anymore.
Dude, I recall chasing a guy all around the live fire map. He doesn't know I'm behind him. I've unloaded 2 magazines into the back of the dude's head, and I'm just like,
desync is the. I say desync is worse, is a bigger problem right now than even the content, because even people that don't know what it is, they do know, like,
something's not right. Yeah, something
don't feel right. Or it's inconsistent from game to game. It's like I can't tell, like, what whether this is a situation where I should get the kill or not because of that thing. So they definitely got to fix the netcode. The thing I'll say to you, Forte, I do think it's fair. Like, it's fair for anybody to go, like, I'm done with this. But I guess I'm going to do my sports thing for a second again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, you're on Detroit here. I don't know if you're fair weather when it comes to basketball too.
I'm a more Piston fan, though. There is no other team but the Pistons.
Okay. But like when Gores took over and it was just a bunch of nonsense for those few years, I'm like, all right, I was like, this guy's a goofball, but new owner we have. I says, we're never going to win anything with this goofball. I says, I can't like really care anymore. And then all of a sudden, like, out of nowhere, I start hearing, we got some good players. And it's like, well, how did that happen? And I see, like, they got a good GM in the year now, right? And I looked at his track record, and now I'm all in again. I do think with live service games, there is always, again, there's no guarantee that you're going to come back. But I do think there's always, you're never really out of it if you can get your shit together, right? And I think this goes back to, like, your question earlier, Slow-Mo, was like, do they have the leadership to get the shit together? If they do, the foundation is still there, and we really even talked about Forge yet, and the potential. Like, I think people are still the casual fan is still thinking about Forge like it's just Halo 5 Forge, like it's been since 3. This is like it is damn near a multiplayer game engine, and and especially when you start thinking about something like that in the hands of the PC gamer, and you mentioned Forte. Well, it might have to be something completely different. We've seen some of the biggest games of all time were mods, right? Like PUBG, Dota, Counter-Strike. The stuff that they can do in this, they might create modes that are going to be more popular than 343's modes, and it's all, like, the possibilities are, I think, a lot more than a lot of people realize. And from what I understand, Certain Affinity has a lot to do with that, and the big mode that they're working on has a lot to do with it. And so there's still a lot of potential with the multiplayer. Slomo, you mentioned, like, maybe they do split it off. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if when it comes to the campaign, if Staten's like, just like, let's kind of like, and maybe that is the multiplayer too, who knows? But if Staten, I would say that any plans they had before he came in, no matter what they said no BR. They said this is going to be a 10-year game. I would say that's all out. Everything is back on the table when you have new leadership that's kind of coming in with their own vision. So I wouldn't be shocked if, like, especially the campaign, they just come out and it's next gen only. We're not going to just do a bunch of yearly DLCs like Destiny and things like that. I think that was the expectation, and maybe that shouldn't be the expectation anymore. So I think, go ahead.
No. Oh, I was going to say, so for me, the only saving, because like I said, as long as you have the game in your rotation, it's always a chance you could come back. you know, the reason I didn't have to go back to Master Chief Collection is because I played all those games. I didn't have the campaign was already beat, already done legendary runs on it, so it was really it was more the nostalgic reason of going back and playing that stuff and playing it with your friends and stuff. So for me, once it took them so long to fix it, it was like I just didn't have a reason to go back. There's a reason to go back to Halo Infinite because as much as people get the story crap and stuff, I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoy the Halo campaigns and stuff, and I definitely want to see the direction they're going to go when it comes to the follow-up to what they showed at the very end of Halo Infinite. So I'll definitely jump in just to do that. So it's not like the game's going to be put down, but like I said, for me, I'm just going to give you more of an insight to my psyche when it comes to this. Battlefield is one of my favorite franchises. Well, it's like literally my third favorite behind Halo. I got Mass Effect, Halo, and Battlefield. And Battlefield 4 was so busted, but the gunplay was the thing that made it fun was never the problem. It was just other things like graphical glitches and things not working in the game they should have worked. But you could get past all that stuff because the gameplay was phenomenal when it wasn't like lagging and stuff. And then Battlefield 2042 came around, and as much as they fixed all that stuff in the game, I still can't find myself going over there and playing it consistently like I normally would. And that's one of my favorite. And that game runs almost flawlessly now when it comes to, gunplay and everything. But it's like once they kind of burn you one time and it takes forever for them to get, stuff in order to fix it. Now it's it's just this overall thought process of like, why should I give my time for something that you guys obviously for some reason didn't feel like was in a good place to release and stuff like that. And I know that's not developers. I don't talk to developers when I say that. That's more of what the publishers and the publishers and stuff do like that. But like I said, outside of campaign, like I said, you can come back to the game if they change some stuff. Fine. Well, I will always jump in with friends and stuff. Me, Slow Mo, and Luca. We with the squad. We always went back to Halo 5 Guardians all the time and played that consistently for a nice minute. And but this game it just hurt. It just hurt.
And Forte, I think a lot of people feel the way you do, right? And so I don't think there's anything not valid about that. And I don't think they will get back everybody who was enjoying it, in December. But basically, kind of just giving both sides to it and saying why, others will, who want to, they enjoy the loop, they want to come back.
Right.
Why there is something there to kind of keep an eye on. Why it's not, it's definitely, the franchise is definitely, I would say the franchise is it's not on its deathbed, but it's sick, right? And so but there is some potential for it to at least stop regressing the way that it had in terms of the mind share and stuff. But yeah, you're right, there's going to be people that are just going to always remember that, and they're just going to like, I'm not going back, and I moved on, and that's totally fine. That happens with a lot of things. So like there's people there's a lot of other games that are out there like that some of them have recovered decently enough, but they also never got back other people, right? So
so the question
can go both ways.
So the main question I have for you, because I remember you said it yourself, you were like, you said Forte, Slow Mo, come on, man, hey, it's good. 343 is working really hard. So what was the thing that was the turning point for you to be like, I understand what everybody's talking about now? Because you was very, very dug in on that camp that, listen, it's gonna get better, this and that, blah blah blah. When did it finally hit you that you said this is a problem?
Well, when we finally got when that developer came out there and said, "Hey, we know these things are a problem. We just don't have the people to fix it right now." That's when I was like, okay. That's where my jaw kind of dropped.
Right, because that should have been priority number one.
Right.
That goes down to the very stability and integrity of your game. When you do something, there should be a reaction, that you should win an outcome because you meleeed someone and that melee landed. when you can't reliably do that, and they ignored the questions about desync for weeks. It was actually longer than months. People were talking about this, and it's like, yo, like, this is a problem. You see clips all over Twitter. Look at what's happening. Look, this is what I saw in my recording. Now look at what theater mode showed. Like, me not even meleeing at all when I was.
Right,
it's just like,
right.
when you see full evidence of this, and then
It's
like
number one, man.
it's like you don't make it a priority. I'm sorry, like, that's something that, like, it really come to me. It's like, yo, so what are your priorities right now? Because your store never seems to have an update for cat ears and all kinds of other stuff.
I just think they didn't have, well, that, and I think that stuff was all under, well, I don't know how, like Jerry Hook was the guy that kind of oversaw that. I don't want to blame him for the, you know, cat ears and all that stuff, but it might have been. I mean, he was basically the lead of all that, and he's gone, so that might be a good sign there. But no, I agree with you, Slow Mo. I think, I said this really since January, you know, after the game, when I started feeling the desync and it wasn't really going away. I said, this is a bigger deal than the content, you know, because they can bring everybody back for Battle Royale, for Forge, and if people start feeling that desync, they're going to be like, yeah, no, that part is frustrating. That's the stuff that gets you swearing and
Yes.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
Because
can deal with
it's
losing to somebody better.
demoralizing. It's demoralizing because, like, you start losing in a match not because like you're actually getting beat. I have no problem getting beat by better players. Like, shoot, you know, I welcome it because it tells me I know where I need to get better. I'm going up against people. I know where I'm at, you know, when it comes to my skill level in a particular game. But like when there's desync issues, when there's issues with the game itself, and I'm like, nah, wait a minute, no, I'm not losing because these guys are better than me. I'm losing because my shots aren't registering, my melee's not registering, but theirs is. It's just like, yo, like that gets people riled up, you know, because it's almost like, it's not like the other team is cheating, but you feel cheated. You feel the same way as if like there was someone cheated you out of a competitive match. And it's just, for me, and I know we can wrap this up and move on to a different topic, but like I feel like, I know, like, I'm not playing the game right now. I would love to play the game because it is a fun game. It's the best gunplay and Halo gameplay that I've played since probably like Halo Reach. And, you know, and that basically means this is the best 343 his personally done, in my opinion, when it comes to those things.
Sandbox is great.
The sandbox is awesome, but I can't come back with the issues with leadership. I really, like, that needs to be fixed, and with the integrity of the game, the issues with the game, like with desync and stuff like that. Like, I want to stop seeing these videos of people like, hey, look, man, I meleeed this guy 3 times. You didn't even realize I was behind him. Like, just like, I want to stop seeing those kind of videos. So like,
and
those
they need to hire
happen.
more people. So like, just one thing I want to say about that, because you mentioned like that it wasn't a priority. I do think it's not that they don't know it's important. I think they just don't have the people that they need to fix it, and so they need to just hire them. And you can kind of read into the that quote from that developer, but it's also kind of been rumored out there too that you know, some of the people they lost after, and whether that was contractor or just a permanent people that just left, you know, as people kind of turned over after the game, they need to basically you know, build up that staff again. I'm with you 100%.
Like, not to keep this up going, but like, I mean, look, if you got a great contractor, like, this person's amazing. Like, they're great. They're fixing so many issues. They are have such great input. You can't even imagine what it would be like with them without them being on a certain team. And he's about to leave in a month.
Yeah.
Offer this person a full-time job. Like, what? Hello?
I
Like,
have no idea, man. Yeah, that part I don't get.
You know, I haven't, like, I have never managed teams of that scale. I was a manager at one point before I got into what I currently do now in IT. But like, duh, just hire the guy as a full-time employee. That would seem like a smart idea instead of letting this person walk, then trying to replace this person with another contractor who may or may not be just as good, could be worse. And then, but regardless of that, they gotta get up to speed and learning the engine, learning what the rest of the people in the team already know. That takes time away. That's hours lost. That's productivity lost. It's like, just hire the better people. Duh. Like, hello.
Especially with the proprietary engine, right? This isn't like Unreal where you can hire anybody off the street. That's going to hit the ground running. You know, everybody knows Unreal. People don't use slip space or didn't use Blam either, right? So, you're right. So I know I'm just belaboring it, but I think you're right on with that.
but yeah, you know, look, we hope for the best with the game, but you know, just be realistic. It looks like it's going to be a while before they turn that corner. But moving on, I did want to discuss an interview that popped up recently, and I think this interview was with Games Industry Biz. Let me double check who
Games Industry.biz.
Yes, it was them. So they had an interview with Stefan Diastos. I probably butchered that name, but look, he's the former founder of Eidos Montreal. And Eidos Montreal, I think they're probably outside of Guardians of the Galaxy. Their most recent game was Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I'm showing footage of right now. So a couple of things that came out of this interview that kind of got me thinking, and definitely things I want to discuss with you guys, was in regards to their relationship with Square Enix and how, you know, like they're no longer owned by Square Enix because Square Enix sold them for an extremely low number of $300 million to Embracer Group, not just Eidos Montreal, but Crystal Dynamics, which made the Tomb Raider reboot and Rise of the Tomb Raider, also made Marvel's Avengers. People don't want to think about that. And Square Enix Montreal, which I think was like a mobile developer, Yeah. As well as all their IPs. So the Tomb Raider IP, Deus Ex, I can't remember all the other IP that was involved in that.
Deus Ex, Thief.
So like all that for $300, which is like a steal.
$300.
I said it might as well be $300. I mean, damn, $300 million, right? So this is also to Embracer Group. I just want to say a couple quotes here from Stefan, and where's the first one here? Blah 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 blah. I'm sorry. I know we got dated. I'm trying. I lost where my my quotes were, but essentially I will find these quotes, but I'm gonna summarize what he said. That there were times where they kind of felt like Square Enix and Eidos Montreal definitely weren't on the same page in terms of what Square Enix expected out of them for revenue, as well as expectations on the games there. So now you notice a lot of times Square Enix will come out and speak publicly about games that they publish and say, well, the game didn't meet sales expectations. This game was a disappointment. And it seems to me, maybe just me, this only seemed to happen with their Western studios. They never would talk about a Japanese studio like Babylon's Fall was a disappointment. And I'm like, why wouldn't Babylon's Fall be a disappointment? Like 3 people were playing it on Steam right now. That's clearly a disappointment, but I have yet to see them come out publicly and say those kind of things. But they said it about Tomb Raider Remake. They said it about Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers definitely was a disappointment though. But hey, look, maybe you shouldn't have forced the developer to do a live service game when they only make single player games anyway. I did find the part in the article here. So it says like Square Enix has become notorious for declaring multi-million selling games to be disappointments, and Diastos reports this extended behind the scenes as well. He recalls a meeting regarding the company's financial performance for 2012, where the Eidos group of studios was expected to generate $65 million in profit Instead, he was told the developers had lost $65 million that year. We were dumbfounded, he said, especially because my studio didn't have any deliverables for that year, which means his studio wasn't going to be dropping the game that year. So it was like, why were you expecting all this revenue when we're not like doing anything? We're not, delivering on any games at this time. Forte, what do you think about this interview and like kind of like what everyone else had been saying about the relationship between these developers and Square Enix kind of being confirmed by their former founder?
I mean, as I was reading through that, it was just depressing reading through that article. I was just sitting there like, yeah, 8 million copies of a game wasn't enough being sold. Hitman selling this much wasn't enough to be sold. We need more. And you could definitely see, like, he was even talking about how he felt like with Eidos that they didn't know how to sell games at the beginning. He thought that the Square Enix purchase and them being able to merge with them would like change the direction of them being able to like promote and sell the games a little bit more. Kind of find out no matter what they were doing, because I guess they were just looking at them as more of a funnel to just have some type of reach to get into the Western market and stuff, which they ended up being able to do with the games like Tomb Raider and everything like that. Then the Final Fantasy game, that stuff was already over here, but it just gave them more games that they could release over in this side. But as soon as any of those games didn't perform up to expectation, they just wanted to blame it on that side of the studio and stuff, and it's very disappointing. But I also just think that's why they just got rid of it, because at a certain point it's like they look like, we don't even really care about this. We never really cared about the IPs to begin with. They served their purpose already, so let's just give this away. And that's pretty much what they ended up doing. And him coming out, Stefan coming out and saying this stuff kind of just gives a little bit more behind the scenes thoughts on like what the atmosphere was at just working in the studio and being in that room when they're talking about the financials, and like you said, not even delivering the game and you feeling like you're getting blamed for something. That's the worst feeling in the world. You can only do what actually is put in front of you, and if it's not there in front of you, how are you supposed to interact with it? So I just think it's just been a train wreck for a long time when it comes to Square, and that's why a lot of people just want to see them get sold off, so this can just kind of salvage some of the stuff that's actually going there. But in general, it was actually a really, really good interview, and it kind of just brings light to a lot of stuff that a lot of people was kind of thinking behind the scenes, like why do they treat their Western developers the way they do? Because obviously they didn't really care about them.
Yeah, I'm gonna read these next two quotes, and then I want to ask OVM what his thoughts are about it. So like Stefan said, if I read between the lines, Square Enix Japan was not as committed as we had hoped initially, and there are rumors, obviously, that with all these activities of mergers and acquisitions, that Sony would really like to have Square Enix within their wheelhouse. I have heard rumors that Sony said they're really interested in Square Enix Tokyo, but not the rest. So I think Square Enix CEO Yusuke Masudo-san put it like a garage sale that DeAsso suggests may explain the $300 million price tag for 3 AAA studios and a host of long-running IP, including the blockbuster Tomb Raider franchise. By comparison, Embracer purchased Gearbox in a deal worth $1.3 billion. He said they have about 1,000 staff in regards to Gearbox. Eidos has about 1,000. They have basically Borderlands and others, and Eidos has 5 times the IP. So why 4 times less? I guess there weren't a lot of key people interested, and it shows the health of the value of the potential of Eidos, unfortunately. So OBM, in light of
just to say something, Gearbox does have a publishing arm too, though.
Yes, but 2K publishes. They do have a publishing arm, but Gearbox Publishing does not publish Borderlands. 2K still publishes
2K
Borderlands.
publishes that. Yeah, I'm just saying, but that does bring a little bit I'm not saying it's gonna give you another $1 billion, but
Yeah, I can't
that
think
does-
of like a major seller that Gearbox is like. Gearbox published. What's that game that everybody goes in on?
Aliens, Colonial Marines.
Well, no, they do. They
Oh,
support. They
Battleborn?
quote unquote develop that. That's a whole different story with Gearbox and
Talk about
how shady they are.
Battleborn. Oh,
Not
now we
Battleborn. They didn't make
Battleborn,
this game. They published this
made it,
game
yeah,
recently. I can't remember the name of it. It's like it was a looter, but it was melee focused.
Oh, that was the exclusive. God, why
Oh,
did
no,
my
a server. It starts with A. Jesus Christ.
No, it doesn't start with
No.
an A.
No, it was
I can think of the
PlayStation
developer.
5 exclusive. And
Yes,
just came out
Counterplay
Xbox.
Games is the name of the developer that developed it, and
Forgot.
Gearbox published it. Heck is the name of that game? It's like big armor people fighting with melee weapons.
Yeah.
Godfall.
Oh my
Thank you,
God.
Gregor. Thank you.
There it
Gregor.
is. Thank you.
You say,
Godfall.
you say armored
Godfall.
people? Those are lions and animals.
That's a game.
Those were
everybody
not
tried to
lions
forget.
and animals. They
That's
were
what they got-
people
they got-
in armor that
Yeah, I know.
had
Did you
depicted lions and animals.
That they
on
never
it.
took their stuff off.
Yeah, they never took it off. Yeah.
That's why I said they're basically lions and tigers and bears.
So Godfall, that's the biggest game that Gearbox Publishing has published, and that's not a successful game. The only successful game I know that they've published is Risk of Rain 2. So, which is a really good game, but it's like basically a AA version of Returnal.
They got a lot of games that they published.
They have published a lot of games, but none of them have been like really massive games. So it's like I don't think that would like have risen the price to the 1.3 billion.
No, yeah.
That
it wouldn't
Embracer
have.
Group had to spend. But OBM, what do you think about Stefan's thoughts on the acquisition and exactly like why it was 300 million and this whole implication that like the rumors that Sony is looking to purchase them, but Sony didn't want all of those additional developers and IP that they just basically want them to get lean and make
Right.
it a simpler purchase. Then what do you think about that?
I mean, it was interesting because all he's really doing is confirming a lot of people's theories over the last couple years. Square seems like from the outside, it seems like they have had management issues as well over there. I think the Final Fantasy MMO has kind of been a cash cow for them. That's sort of carried them for the last few years. And yeah, I mean, IDOS and Crystal Dynamics always seemed like the stepchildren they didn't want. And they threw them out as soon as they could. The thing is to think about with those types of games. I think a lot of those games really have lost their value, though. Like the single player games that are worth a lot of money. I mean, obviously there's outliers. Nintendo and Sony are kind of outliers when it comes to single player games. But really, outside of that, you have to be something that figures out how to keep that engagement longer than your 20-30 hour campaign, linear narrative driven campaign, and all the other single player games that are successful generally, or that are worth a lot of money do have sort of a long tail to them. There's basically they're open world, or there's always like content being added, things like that. So I just think that they ended up being in they're one of these studios that is very talented, but the market's not screaming for their types of games right now, and so it makes sense that if Square is looking to cash in because people are buying, and honestly it Square might look at it like, hey, now is as good a time as any to try to sell, because number one, we don't really have anything else going on outside of Final Fantasy and what a Dragon Warrior or whatever. I don't play those, but basically they have a couple IPs that are huge, but they don't seem like they've been maximizing anything outside of the cash cows, and their opportunity to grow seems limited because of that. So thinning out is what you'd want to do, and it could, because companies, we just looked at some purchases like Microsoft's made, and like you look at 69 billion was attached to like 3 different IPs basically with Activision Blizzard, and with Bethesda, their 7.5 billion was tied up in a handful of IPs and some tech. Generally when these big companies are looking to buy them, they're looking for those IPs, not necessarily all those employees, right? They're not looking for all the cost with limited return. And unfortunately, those studios don't add a lot to the value of them as a publisher, because that's not what people are going to be looking for Square for, is for Final Fantasy, for the MMO, just for those tentpole IPs. So yeah, it looks like things seem to be kind of lining up that way, and it seemed like it made sense on paper that Sony would, like, a Sony Square thing does kind of make sense. Because of how Final Fantasy is always sort of aligned with their brand. And I know I've heard people say, I've heard people say on other shows, like, well, why pay for the cow when you're getting the milk free? The thing I would say is, if they don't buy the cow, I don't think the milk's going to be free forever, because
exactly, things could always change. Like
yeah.
That's the kind of mentality that I think that Microsoft may have had back in the day when BioWare was only making games for Xbox.
Yeah,
why buy this when they're only making the games for us? But then you missed the opportunity to make sure that they only ever made games for you, and EA took over them and mismanaged it and made their games multi-platform. So instead of having one of the best trilogies ever, with Mass Effect being exclusive to your platform forever, that became a multi-plat. Dragon Age, great series, great IP, multi-plat. You missed out. You missed out on the ability to potentially, maybe have a Jade Empire remake or a Jade Empire 2, because that you had the publishing rights for that game, and now it's in limbo in regards to getting a great RPG, having it come back. So it's just, I agree, having the mentality that why do we need to purchase this when we're getting all these timed exclusives with them anyway? But that doesn't always, it's not always going to be the case forever.
No.
Forget Microsoft. What if Nintendo
or even
comes
Tencent.
or Tencent or something?
Even a big third party would just come in and why are we going to do these deals? We want the IP to grow now. If it's Tencent would want to put it everywhere. They're going to want the IP to grow as much as possible in value. I think it's the fact that Sony has a deal with them now is, that's one heck of a deal now, because with the way the industry is going, where eventually in the future, where you want to be is be able to go anywhere, right? Eventually they're thinking 10 years down the road, you could be on any device, you'll be on PC. You want to get your IP, brand as big as possible. The fact that Sony was able to lock that up now is, like I said, one heck of a deal. They can't count on that continuing to happen, the next cycle, whether it's 5 or 10 years from now. And even if it could be another third-party publisher, but another third party buys them. And just like you mentioned, a great example, BioWare, it was bought by EA. It wasn't bought by Sony, it was bought by EA. But Microsoft kind of lost the control over those IPs, where they were publishing Mass Effect, and then they lost the exclusive, but they also lost control to continue to build on that. So Sony makes a lot of sense from that standpoint of fit, but also because Sony is now going hard after the gas stuff. They're trying to expand, and Square does have a massive an MMO that's only growing and getting more popular. And I think and also then you have all the anime stuff, which I'm not an expert on. I don't know anime, but I do think there's a lot of synergies there. So yeah, that would not shock me if we hear by the end of the year that Sony's put in a bid for Square, but that's just a guess. So.
Yeah, I think I've been kind of thinking this was going to be the case since the beginning of the year. And it only kind of got more confirmed when they started selling off assets that I think Sony wouldn't find all that attractive.
Yeah,
it's no shade against. I enjoyed the Tomb Raider trilogy of games, but they're so similar to Uncharted, and they're still
Yeah.
not done with Uncharted. I can see Sony thinking like, well, we don't really need this. We've seen that kind of mentality from them already when they spoke about like part of the reason why they did decide not to do a Days Gone 2 was because they thought it was the IP was too similar to The Last of Us, which
Right.
clearly a more successful IP, and we just rather Sony Ben just work on something completely different. I can see them thinking like, well, look, Crystal Dynamics is the fine studio, but they're not Naughty Dog, and
Right.
the best game that they make is still not better than one of Naughty Dog, like the IP that's so similar to Uncharted. So yeah, we don't need that.
Sony has enough of those, right? I think that's the gist of it. Is they have enough of those narrative-driven games, and not only do they have enough of those narrative-driven games, they've been sort of with those studios. If you look at how those games have been evolving, more open world, they're starting to even their single-player games are increasing engagement in that. Outside of like Last of Us, isn't everything? I mean, everything else is big. Is open world. It's got a lot of DLC potential, stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas like those games that were coming out from Eidos and Crystal Dynamics didn't fit, and we already saw that Crystal Dynamics struggled when they tried to go outside of their lane. So
Yeah.
Sony just doesn't need that stuff really.
Yeah, and also if you think about it, these studios kind of specialize in single player content. They got enough studios that do that, and think about all the acquisitions that they've been making when it comes to studios. They've acquired studios for them to do port work to PC. They've acquired studios to make VR games for them, and they've acquired studios that are doing multiplayer, live service, competitive kind of stuff like Firewalk and J Raymond Studio. So like they're not acquiring the kind of studios that do the kind of things that Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal do, because they already got studios that do that, and that's just not what's like. It's not that they can't use those kind of games, it's that they already got those kind of games in development. And now what they're worried about is fleshing out that portfolio, being more versatile in what they provide to gamers. And so, like, if they're just not interested in what those studios do, which I mean makes a lot of sense to me. And I do think that when Square Enix is acquired by Sony, that we will see that Square Enix will still publish games. I think it will be more like what we see with Bethesda and ZeniMax, where I'm not saying 100% like those games would be multi-plat, but you can still see like a relationship with Platinum Games, like as Square Enix has. Like Platinum, they've done at least 2 games with them already, so I think that would be something that we'll definitely still see in the future. Forte, any thoughts on this?
I mean, Square. Okay, so as soon as we start hearing the news about the acquisition of them, like the rumblings of Square and Sony, it was like probably a couple months after that we heard that's when the sale happened, and the first thing we thought was like, well, they really didn't need Tomb Raider because they got Uncharted, they got Last of Us, so they already have like games that are kind of living in that staple. Now they don't have like a stealth game or anything like Thief or anything, but those games kind of just cross-pollinate with each other. And like I said, they just really did. I'm just to a point where, as much as a lot of us really like those games, like Thief was okay, Deus Ex was probably was a sleeper. I just don't think they gave it enough chime the second time around when they did Mankind Divided, which I really enjoyed. But it's unfortunate. Now I do think it's a Sony getting Square would be such a great move, but the thing, how would it hurt other people like Nintendo at that point? Because Square makes a lot of games for Nintendo, like Triangle Strategy, Bravely Default, all of the offshoot Final Fantasy games, like the Tactics games, the all of those games and stuff. So it's like, as much as I think it would be a great move, that literally hurts Nintendo at that point, unless they do the same thing they do with Bungie, where they just leave it autonomous. And They just reap the revenue and stuff that those games sell on other platforms, and they just get certain games made specifically for their platform, like when it comes to Final Fantasy and stuff like that too. But I do think the whole narrative of drinking from the cow, thinking the cow is always going to be available, I do think that definitely is something that they probably are definitely worried about, especially in the climate right now where everything is being purchased by everyone. And Square, go ahead.
I was gonna say I definitely suggest, or I definitely don't think you should drink directly from the cow. But yeah, keep going.
No, you don't. You want
another Forteism.
No,
drink directly. What a part of the cow are you drinking directly from, Forte?
Some people. Hey, listen, Luke Skywalker drunk blue milk in a movie.
That was not a cow.
But
nor was that the highlight of the movie either.
It was meant to be their version of a cow, sir.
Oh man,
he was milking it. So let's be for real. But no, it's just in general. It's just in general. I just think that I just want whatever's good for them in this regard. I don't want to see Nintendo lose out on all the stuff that they have, but I definitely can see the benefits that Sony would get out of a partnership like that, and I'd rather them get it than some offshoot get it, because you never know what's going to be the situation with those games and stuff. But this has been a long time coming, I think everybody's been kind of seeing the writing on the wall, and they definitely wanted to cut a lot of the fat, because like I said, Sony doesn't need about 60% of the stuff that they had. All they really care about is those JRPGs that they make over there that can kind of bring to their platform and kind of differentiate themselves from other platforms when it comes to that.
Yeah. All right, well, we can move on to something, a little small topic here. This is
finally.
Right.
Finally.
So PS5, right? PS5 got an update, or he's getting an update. This is in beta, so it's not like something that everyone can jump on right now. So if you're not in the beta program for PS5, you can't enjoy this at the moment. But there's an update that came out, and it was kind of brought up by some of the guys at Digital Foundry already. But you can now finally
a year and a half later
play games in 1440p. So if you have a 1440p monitor, and that's typically what this is for. And now, hey, moving more towards that PC climate, that PC community, that because like console gamers aren't playing games in 1440p. They have either a 1080p HD TV, or they have a 4K HD TV. 1440p resolution, 2K. As we call it, is a monitor thing. Like one of my monitors here, I have a 1440p monitor that's 165 hertz, and I have both of them are LGs, and I have a 4K monitor that's 60 hertz. That's like my secondary monitor. So in there, which tells me, I think, and I'll ask you guys this, they just came out with these end zone monitors, and one's a 1080p 240 hertz. And a 4K 144 hertz, but there was no 1440p monitor. And I think probably not this year, but maybe next year when they come out with their next year's line of end zone monitors, we're going to see a 1440p monitor. What do you think about that, Forte?
Nope, I was thinking the same thing. As soon as I saw it, I said, 1440p is mysteriously missing here. And I was like, sooner or later, they're going to bring the support. I mean, and let's be fair, they already said the support was coming sooner or later. We just didn't expect it to take a year and a half to get here. But yeah, this is just more in line with their focus on bringing the PlayStation ecosystem along with Sony Entertainment, or Sony Entertainment in line with Sony Interactive, which is the TV division and the gaming division, and bringing that version it all over to PC and stuff. So I definitely could see something like this happening, probably not even next year. By next year, it probably could happen by the end of this year, going into like probably the beginning of next year. You'll start hearing the rumbles, or you might actually see something when it comes to that, because a lot of people definitely like playing on at 1440p, and I always feel like, I mean, you're just kind of wasting money at 4K if you're playing on anything smaller than 32 inches, because the pixel density isn't great enough for you to really see a big difference, versus if you're just playing at 1440p, high settings on everything, it looks just as good. I mean, if you pixel peep it, you could definitely see a difference, but just glancing at it, it looks as good as anything else. So this is definitely a good move for them. Finally, glad that they're doing it. And it's going to support all of the frame rates from 60 frames all the way up to 120 frames per second, which is something that's been sorely lacking unless you were on a 4K monitor for PlayStation. Now, I've been able to do this for a while because my LG scales, it does auto scaling. So even knowing it's a 1440p monitor, it takes a 4K signal and downscales it to 1440p, and I still was able to get 60 frames per second on my PlayStation 5, or not 60, 120 frames per second. But it's just good to know that people can actually take advantage of it when it comes to that now. And yeah, but it's a good move. But I do think the PC thing is the main reason this is finally happening. Not happening because they want to give you 1440p finally to use on the monitor that you have. They're doing it because they got bigger plans for their own product line to make sure that that's in line with PlayStation when it comes out sometime either end of this year or next year.
Also, developers could start actually supporting that resolution as well. So maybe,
Facts.
maybe with some of their modes, like if they're going to do a frame rate mode, they made this, instead of having it be 1080p at 120 hertz, they may try to shoot for 1440p in that resolution if possible.
You know what I want PlayStation to do? I want PlayStation to make an ultra wide version of that monitor. If they made an ultra,
that might be in the works for the next.
If they make an ultra wide version of that monitor, we can finally get some type of support for console if they finally do it.
That might be in the works. They're definitely all in on PC and PC accessories, and they said something of the line they want to be like the Razer. They wouldn't be like Razer. Like Razer makes all kinds of stuff. Like I don't see them making like Razer makes keyboards and mice and shoot. I think they even make like those big wide like desk wide mouse pads and stuff like that. They make capture cards, terrible capture cards by the way.
Terrible.
Absolutely awful. Don't get a Ripsaw. They're awful. But though like they make all kinds of stuff. I can't see Sony going that far with it, but I can see them definitely getting pretty deep on the monitor front as well as the headsets as well. OBM, what did you think about all this?
You know, I had a different thing that came to mind, not a huge take on it. Well, first of all, I was like, "What? They didn't have 1440p? I didn't even know that wasn't a thing yet until now."
Yeah.
But as I'm thinking about it, I mean, they're going to be doing a lot of a lot of, like you just mentioned, a lot of competitive multiplayer games coming up. And maybe this is just a small anecdote, but I always thought there was a lot more gamers that even that game on console that use monitors for multiplayer. I have a 77-inch that sits in the same room, OLED that sits in the same room as my monitor, and when I want to play like Halo or Battlefield or any like multiplayer game, I go on the monitor just because you get that extra, that reduced latency and just response and everything. So
right.
So that's the thing that popped to my mind is that you just want to be. And like you mentioned it too, is like we'll make a 1440p version anyways, right? Like just you're going to be making these games that are going to do better that are going to do well on PC. So I don't know, but yeah, that was a surprise to begin with.
Yeah, I think I think they're finally starting to add the features that a lot of people were curious about why they weren't there at launch. 1440p being one of them. Other features that the Xbox Series console always had from the very start. Another thing that they added with this update is something that I definitely was missing with the UI is be able to create folders. So apparently now you can be able to do a folder, like a folder list or whatever, of putting games in certain categories, which is something that I had always do on consoles, and something that I did for PS4, but going into PS5 I didn't have that option. I was kind of really annoyed by that. It's nothing serious, but it's like an annoyance that you wish was there, something that you once had that you no longer have, but I mean, we can move on. This is like I said, it's a mini topic. It probably should have been in the mini topic list if now I think about it.
We finally fired through something quickly. That was good.
The next topic, though, might be a bit interesting. We might have some interesting thoughts on this one. So, Rockstar is There was a report from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg in regards to Rockstar and their culture. Now, I think he felt it necessary to do a follow-up article on this because he was one of the people that reported initially on Rockstar's culture and its issues with crunch and how they treated staff and all that stuff, right? So Rockstar seems to have, like, unlike a lot of other developers, really put the work in to make sure that their culture has been completely cleaned up. They are, and so much so that some developers feel like they've gone too far in one direction, where it's like some developers have left Rockstar because they felt like development on Grand Theft Auto 6 has moved too slowly. But I've seen a lot of people since this article has come out that have had some very interesting and very aggressive and impassioned feelings about some of the changes that they're going to make. So apparently they're going to take out some of the joking manner about certain things, about certain groups or marginalized groups. They're no longer going to punch down with those kind of jokes. So people feel like that's taking out some of the trademark Rockstar humor there. They're also, as I said before, there's no crunch anymore really there, and which I think is good. I've always been anti-crunch, but I think the biggest thing it seems that people seem to have taken issue with, what I don't understand whatsoever, is that the in details about Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to take place in a fictional version of Miami and the surrounding areas of Miami. You're going to have two main protagonists, and one of them is a woman. For the first time in the history of the IP, they're going to have a female main protagonist. So, gentlemen, what are your thoughts about this? Obian, what do you think about that being? One, do you play GTA?
I do not. I mean, I tend to buy them all, and I usually put in 10 hours, and I stop playing. I never play it online. But but the story does still interest me. I think it's honestly and I know I'm aware of the comments you're talking about too. I've seen some of the the predictable comments from certain people. But I am somebody that looked at this story as something that, and as you're reading it, it kind of filled me in on some other things I didn't know about. But to me, it all sounds positive. And it's not just good, because I saw people posting stuff like, "Oh, go woke, go broke," all this bullshit. But honestly, the thing is, it's not just a moral thing. It's a good thing for their businesses. Like the industry right now is it's a lot more women are starting to have been playing games over the years. A lot more people from diverse communities. They used to be, this used to be a hobby for white males basically, white young males, and it's now expanded to all different types of age groups, demographics, LGBT, all that's a lot of people are coming into the gaming, and it's not just about the consumers. It's also about recruiting the talent too. So I've heard some of the pushback against crunch culture and stuff like that, where people say, well, you need to do that if you're going to make a great game and stuff like that. Well, here's the problem,
which is completely false. Insomniac doesn't do any crunch whatsoever. Their games are great. So I always use them as the example of why that is false, because whenever we see there are games that are successful, that do well, and there aren't crunch, we always get I'm pretty sure they crunched at some point. Just whatever, bro.
No, they'll have to lengthen the cycles, but to do for some of these studios, Insomniac is,
or hire more people. Hire more people, increase your team size. Yeah.
Get your processes in place, get game engines and tools and stuff down. But the thing I would say to counter that is, with the way the entire industry is now with remote work, with the fact that me who lives in freaking Chesterfield, Michigan, I could theoretically, not that I'm applying or anything, but theoretically I could work in any state, right? I could go to companies anywhere, and you're seeing that now, like we just saw some news this week where Insomniac was saying, hey, we're now in 40 plus states for remote work, including I think what was it? I can't remember some of, but they were basically announcing different areas. Bungie is doing the same thing, and what's going to happen is if you want the best talent, then you're going to have a culture that that is willing to support, you know, a diverse workforce that comes from anywhere, and you're going to need to be able to keep talent because they don't need to put up with your. Am I allowed to swear? Put up with your shit anymore?
We try that. We keep the
okay.
the
sorry.
I appreciate you.
I won't do that anymore.
Go ahead, man.
But you know, like you don't need to put up with that anymore. If you're forced to work 70 hours a week or basically burn out mentally, physically, emotionally to ship a game, it's like, well, you don't. I mean, we just got done talking about 343 and you know, like why that leadership's important. Like these people can leave and they can go to any studio in any state. They can go to studios that are not even in the same country. You know, like there was that developer I saw that was working at the Initiative. He went over to work for Ninja Theory, and now he's back at someplace in the U.S. and I don't even know where he lives.
No, I think it's interesting you brought that up because like I highlighted a part of the article that I thought was really a cool idea. This is the new policy they have at Rockstar called Flexitime, which allows staff to immediately take time off for every extra hour they work. So imagine like you're trying to hit a certain deadline for a particular threshold of the game, so that you can move on and make sure you're hitting your thresholds in production and moving swiftly. You decide to, you know, to work some extra hours, to work some extra overtime for a few weeks in order to make sure that your team has hit that deadline and you're not like, you know, holding the development of the game back. Well, then you can actually take those extra hours and get that time back. Like actually, you know, maybe taking a day or two off. You know, because if you built up that much of overtime hours, I think that's a smart idea, something that a lot of developers should implement as well.
Well, and that is smart too, because you know the argument in favor of crunch, and you probably can relate to this, Slomo, being in tech, and I can relate, you know, working in like you know, analytics and tech. You know that there are times when you're working on a project, there's times you get in a zone, right? And you might get more done in a 60-hour week than you might in over 2 weeks of 80 hours, just because you're in that zone and you want to just keep pushing through while you have that momentum. And so having policies in place like that really gives you the best of both worlds to continue with that momentum when you are, you know, you're on one of those sprints to kind of hit a milestone, but then you give that back. Then you know, then those employees can still maintain, you know, a proper overall life balance. And again, I think that if Take-Two is doing this, if Rockstar's doing this, if Microsoft's doing it, Sony, now we're hearing more of their studios speak up and doing it, it's going to force everybody to do that. And so it's going to end up leveling the playing field, because if I'm a super talented developer, why would I go somewhere where I'm not getting that balance when I can go over here and get the same pay and you know, just and still work on a big game and add to my resume, but I can, you know, and work from home and not have to put in 70, 80 hours, you know, for a whole year. So yeah, I think all this is great news, honestly, across the board.
Ooh. Forte, what are your thoughts about one? It looks like they have an idea. Initially, they wanted it to be so big. They were going to have like a massive map, like it would dwarf the map of GTA 5. But then they found that to be a little too ambitious. So what they decided to do is that they're going to, like, when it comes out, it's going to have like the Miami area and surrounding areas, and they'll start adding more of these maps over time as the game is out, which will affect like the campaign stuff as well as the, you know, everything else. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea. Grand Theft Auto's been. Can you, like, I haven't played Grand Theft Auto's campaign since 2011 or 12. Whatever year it came out. I think 2011.
I think it came out in 12. I remember 12. Playing it on 360. and
Yep.
then getting it on Xbox One, and then playing it for a long time. Like I have like mostly GTA Online. I actually never finished the GTA 5 campaign, but I was playing through it, and then when the online wasn't ready at launch, I think it took like a month or two to get ready.
Yeah, it's like a month or two.
When the online was finally ready, I just never went back to the campaign. I just played online exclusively, me and my friends, and I think my level was like 150 or 60 something, which is really not even a lot if you think about the people who play the game consistently all the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. Kind of just, I think they kind of learned also from the fact that, you know, less is more, especially when it came to GTA Online. You know, they added, you know, heist and stuff at a later date. You know, people that enjoy your game, as long as there's something there for them to play on a consistent basis that they really enjoy, they don't mind waiting for content, because that's what they kind of were doing for that. And the GTA's single player was like 30, maybe 30 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours or something, depending on if you did a lot of stuff in between just blazing through the main campaign. So I think, you know, having campaign drops on a consistent basis, like one every 3 months or something, or, you know, 2 a year, that opens up a whole nother part of the game, and adds 15 to 20 hours of story elements to the game, or stuff, or just this evergreen content that just keeps coming back and forth. I think that's a great idea. They talked about, I was looking at the article, well, I saw what's his name, the one guy, I forget it, he was talking about how they were talking about a 10-year plan, not just for the single player, I mean the multiplayer, but for the single player too.
I'm sure I found it somewhere in here. Yeah, it's a pretty lengthy article, but
yeah, it's I think it's really, really cool. I just look at, man, Rockstar, take as much time as you need. I mean, I know people are starving.
Yeah, some people feel like they've taken too much time as
no,
is.
dude, listen, man. The fact that when you have a studio that makes a game that people are eating off of 11, 12, 10 years later, still eating off that same game, let that team take as long as they need to take, because guess what? They're going to get, initial sales is going to be incredible. Initial sales is going to be incredible even if the game's not good. We know the game's probably going to be amazing because they put a lot of effort and stuff into that stuff. But even if the game sucks, it's going to do so phenomenal out the gate. It might be the first game to hit 50 million in the first couple of days. It's just going to be kind of crazy because so many people are going to be like the world will take over the world that day. For
I want to discuss this real quick, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second. All right.
Soapbox slow-mo.
I don't understand this mentality where there's some gamers that can't play as a female protagonist. Like the character that they control has to be a dude.
Oh my god.
I find that weird. I find it really, really strange. So you do realize it's not you in the game, right? Like you realize that you are still some schmuck sitting on your couch or in your computer chair playing the game. That you're not the person that's in the game. Like, can you let go of that? I don't understand.
So, what do you mean, Soma? With all the hairstyles that and the creative characters? Yeah, I know you create the perfect character representation of you every time.
Right. like especially if a game doesn't have a character creator. Why are you can't even make your funny looking self in the game? So what are you upset about? I don't get it. Like, and this is just me personally, right? But if I have the option to make a muscular man or have a muscular male as my protagonist, or a very shapely, very well put together in pixels woman, I'm gonna go with the woman. Cause I ain't, especially if it's a third person perspective game, I'm not trying to stare at some muscle bound man butt for my entire time playing the game,
Well, you,
I'll much rather stare at some nice female cheeks. Maybe that's just me as a heterosexual male. That's why I much rather see. But the funny is that like all the huge I'm a man people are the ones that's like they don't want to play as a woman. They don't want to look at that. They want to look at the man butt. So I'm just
when
like.
you played Mass
I
Effect
don't
for the
know.
first
I don't
time,
know
what
what
did
you
you
really
pick?
doing out here, sir. But like, it seems like you're not that big of a man that you think you are. Go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say, when you played Mass Effect the first time, what did you pick?
I did choose a dude the first time, but that was a character. Like I actually went away from the default Shepard character
I
and
did
created
too, yeah.
and tried to recreate myself in the game. I'm not saying some people can't do that, right? But it's just the fact that when this is clearly not going to be the case with a GTA campaign. It's never the case with a GTA campaign. You're not creating yourself in the game. You're playing the role of a character that has a fully fleshed out story, and it's usually a well written story because it's Rockstar. Therefore, look, you are playing the role of a character. Like, this is a character that has been created for the game. So what is the problem if one of those characters is a woman?
Yeah. Look, man, every game if it's a game that they let me make a character in, if it's a game that like I want to like portray the character as me, I make a guy. If it's a shooter, I make a girl. I mean, all my Guardians in Destiny are girls because psychologically, I think they got smaller hitboxes, even knowing they probably most likely don't. Even like dude in Halo, in all Halo games, whenever they allowed us to make characters, I made girl characters because they had. If you look at the screen, they had slender bodies, so it just seemed like they could like get away. And we all knew this wasn't a thing, but it made me feel better to know that I got away because my character was got a smaller hitbox, even though it's not the truth. But I don't have a problem with that. I think it's really crazy that people put that much effort into an avatar that the company or the publisher made for you to interact with, just to go through a story narrative beat, and you're trying to interject your overall sentiments into that type of game. There's a place for everything, but people that say stuff like that is kind of crazy. But because I have no problem playing with a female, a male, a goose.
And you don't hear women complain about playing as males, or you don't hear about people minorities complain about playing as white guys. It's always the complaints always, and the complaint about going woke is always like, if it's not one type of thing, it doesn't fit into one box. So we know what it is, but I agree with you guys.
Yeah. Shout out to Rob the Don with Rob the Don 202 with the $5 super chat. He says, "What's up, guys? And where did I come in on? It's just Pixies. Play as you want." Yes, exactly. It's just pixels. Like you're not less of a man if you're playing. You're controlling a female character in a game. It's just pixels, bro. It's not like you want to be a woman or something. It's just like what's wrong with you? Like, I understand why it's so silly. And shout out to Ham Solo, the homie Ham, for becoming a part of the 10%ers out here. He became a member. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you, man. No, I just find it strange. It's not like I will freely admit this though. There are some weirdos out here that be like that be doing some stuff that they be trying to like catfish people with MMOs. Like they created a female MMO character and they don't never get on mic, and they just out there just like pretending they a woman. We see these catfishes on Twitter. It's catfishes in these MMOs too. I'm not talking about them people. I'm talking about just like, here's a game, there's a female protagonist. Like, I'm not out here saying, I mean, it seems like there are people out here who are like, I'll play Uncharted, but I'm not gonna play Lost Legacy because Uncharted got Nathan Drake, and I'm Nathan Drake, but in Lost Legacy, I'm Nadine. Was it Chloe? I'm Chloe. I'm not playing Tomb Raider because that's Lara Croft. I ain't gonna be Lara Croft.
Right.
Just like it's like what is wrong with you, man? Like, why are you wired this way? Like, I wish you would not be so concerned with what other people think about you and just enjoy the game and the story. But let me move on. We can move on to our last topic of the night. Oh man, which is kind of it's kind of frustrating for me to even having this discuss this.
Star Wars taking another drop.
Damn it. I'm like really angry about this now that I think about it. Angry for multiple reasons, but Knights of the Old Republic remake has been delayed indefinitely, and game that I've been looking forward to for a long time. I was hoping that somebody would do a remake of this game for a while, and finally happened when Aspire was named the developer. I was like, okay. Aspire, all right. I'm not certain they're up to the task, but sure, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. At least we're getting a remake, right? Yeah, it turns out Aspire wasn't up to the task. So essentially, this is what happened. Sony and Lucasfilm Games sat down to look at a vertical slice of where the game was at. The game that they had slated to come out next year, sometime in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Aspire showed them their vertical slice, and a week later, the art director and design director were shown the door. It was that bad, like it wasn't just, can you do better? Can you we don't like what you just did. Can you do better than this? It wasn't that. It was like, oh no, no, hells to the no.
No.
You and you, goodbye. Just pack your stuff up. Security's gonna escort you out. We'll send you the rest of your stuff, whatever. But they paused development on the game, so the Aspire Studios no longer even working on the game. They also just added Saber Interactive back in May as the support studio to help them develop this game. So give me a moment. I'm really annoyed with the way this is turning out, because me personally, I believe this game is going to get canceled. I do not think this game is ever going to see the light of day. If it does see the light of day, it's going to be Saber Interactive being the main developer on the game, and it coming out in 2025, 2026.
Yeah. Somebody else is going to have to take it over. I feel like you're going to have that Metroid Prime situation where another developer grabs it and it's years away. So
yeah.
I think you're right.
But real quick before you guys get into it, I just want to address a couple of camps here. They've been talking about this game all week. I'm a little perturbed by both of them. So let me start with the Xbox camp that's celebrating this game being delayed. Why are you celebrating? All your damn games this year got delayed. So what are you celebrating about? Exactly why is this a good thing? You, Mr. Xbox guy, who said you were a KOTOR fan. So if you're a KOTOR fan, why are you celebrating it being delayed? Wouldn't you want to play the remake eventually? But no, it seems more important to you that Xbox didn't get it day and date. There's a timed exclusive to PlayStation, therefore you have to root for its downfall. So what are you really a fan of? You're just a fan of Xbox, and you like to shout out KOTOR as a classic that was exclusive to the Xbox back in the day. Do you even know what the game's about? And that gets me to the other camp, the PlayStation camp. The camp that pretend like they really care about the game when they really don't. You don't know anything about KOTOR. Some of y'all call it KOTOR. Do you know what the letters mean? Do you even know what the letters mean? Stop talking about games y'all don't play. Can you name 3 characters in the game?
Damn.
Can you name 3 characters from the game? Call it Reaver and Darth Malik. No, those aren't people in the game, sir. You don't know what you're talking about. Stop talking about games y'all don't play. Stop coming out here and capping for games that, oh man, I was really looking forward to KOTOR. No, you weren't, because you don't even know what the game is called. And therefore, if you really want to know about the game, if you really want to play the game, it's available right now. Backwards compatibility on the Xbox for the Xbox camp that still haven't played the game whatsoever. And for the PlayStation can't, since you all got high-powered PCs anyway, play it on PC. It's available. So maybe you actually know what the heck you're talking about before you start running your mouth about stuff you don't understand. Okay, I'm done. Oh, one more thing. Let me go show you what the old game looks like. This is the reason why nobody want to play it. Show you guys what it looks like, okay? Hold up, wait. What am I doing? I mean, hold on. You guys go ahead. I'm gonna go find the footage.
It's gonna be okay, Slow-mo. It's gonna be okay.
It's not gonna be okay.
So, Obi, so did you play the original OBO?
Yeah, actually, it was one of my top 3 games on the OG Xbox. I was an OG Xbox fanboy. I was as Brad has told you, we were the beta testers. I was on there since second or third week. Yeah, but
guys,
that was.
Hold on, Obi.
Yeah.
Look at the screen.
You just want to make a point.
This is why they don't know anything about the game.
It has
these
a good story,
new age Xbox fans and these PlayStation fans that didn't have an Xbox at the time when it came out. Now, this was decent visuals for 2003 when it came out.
It was actually pretty decent at the time.
But in 2022, ain't nobody trying to look at this. And this is why they don't want to play the game. They don't know anything about it. That's why they want the remake so bad. But they don't want to know it bad enough to actually know what the heck they're talking about. Okay, now go ahead.
I would say you could if you haven't played it, still play it for historical perspective. But also, it has a good story. So if you like games, I don't know. I think if there's other RPGs that aren't great lookers that just have good stories. But I remember back then, because I was a Star Wars fanboy growing up for the original trilogy. But when the prequels hit, they were they were a major letdown for me. And I remember, and then there's all these garbage Star Wars games that were coming out at this time. This came out, and this was the antithesis of all of that. It was a great RPG, just as an RPG. It was a great Star Wars story, just as a Star Wars. It was better to me than the prequel stories.
I think it's the best Star Wars story ever.
Yeah, it was the best Star Wars game of its time, and I still say today it still holds up in that regard. So it's still, because it's turn-based, I think it kind of holds up anyways. But I am curious to see what that looks like on the PC. But yeah, it's disappointing. But everything else you talked about, Slow-mo, that's just list wars. That's goofballs, man.
Yeah.
They don't even play the games they list. They list the games and they don't even play them.
And they don't even play them. Shout out to Rob the Don 202 with the $2 super chat. I feel you, Slow-mo, but I couldn't care less. Look, Rob, I appreciate that. I appreciate you not caring, because you not caring means you not out here like, man, oh yo, we getting KOTOR. We getting KOTOR out here. Xbox ain't getting KOTOR remake. Yeah, man. Yeah, I can't wait to look at Revo. Look at Revo in the teaser trailer. Like, you not one of them guys. Okay, so like I appreciate that, right?
I might play this now. I might play this again. That's not that bad. I don't know. Whatever.
It's look, on PC, I can't even get a 1080p resolution.
Really?
No.
Oh man, I didn't know it was that bad. Okay.
I think you can with mods. I don't have any mods. I own the game because I think Steam had a Steam sale going for like both Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords for like $5. So of course I was like jumping on that, right? Didn't play through them yet because like I have the game on everything. I got it on the original Xbox. My Xbox account, I got it backwards compatible on the Xbox. I got it on my phone at this point. The game can run on your phone easily. It looks great on your phone, by the way. That's the only good thing Aspire has done, I think. But
God dang.
It is what it is, man. No shade to them. I'm pretty sure they try as hard as they can. They're just not at the level to kind of make a remake for this. But the piece, I think, like, there's probably mods out there that really make this game a lot better than where it is, just off of the default straight up Steam version of the game. I just haven't installed those mods yet, so I might run through it again sometime this year with the mods to buff it up. But my bad, go ahead, man.
No, I think I'll let you keep rolling.
No, I'm just so annoyed by these people. Oh,
I mean, they're just. I kind of put all that stuff. Every time I hear stuff like that, I'm just like, you guys, like, got to stop going in spaces and learn how to use the mute button.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Because there's people, there's people that just they talk more about the game on Twitter, in the list wars, than they do actually play the stuff. So
I bet you for some people that are watching this right now, this is the first time they ever seen gameplay of the game.
And it was a great game for its time. It was absolutely one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It's why I became a BioWare fan. Although, even though I did play Baldur's Gate before that, I haven't played it though since the OG Xbox, so I don't know if the voice acting holds up. That's what I guess.
It does. When I actually got that clip of in the very beginning of KOTOR, when your character wakes up in the apartment and you walk out with your first teammate, the pilot, and he's you got end up in that fight. Like, the voice acting is still very good, and the music is that trademark Star Wars music is still there. So it's like all the voice acting works. It's just visually it still looks hideous,
Yeah. You had what is it? The Yoda. What was the 1,000 years before Yoda?
Yeah. It's like Yoda's dad or something. As old as they are.
Cool. This is a game, when we talk about remakes, this is a game that absolutely deserves a great remake. And I think that might be the issue, is the expectations. Like, if you're going to bring something like this back, don't bring in this back as a you can't half-ass this game. I think if you bring it back, you have to go all in. And if it's it sounds like they gave it to a studio that it was a little bit more than they could handle. So hopefully they can find somebody and bring this back. We know, like, what happened in Final Fantasy Remake? Like, that took forever too. So did that go through any?
But see, that was very similar because initially Square gave it over to a studio that wasn't in house, and they fumbled it. Basically, after 2 or 3 years, they didn't really have anything substantial. Square fired them, brought it in house, and we got the Final Fantasy VII remake that we enjoyed.
Many years later, but they did it though, right? So that I think some of that might be our best hope, is that they bring somebody else, but it's probably now it's probably like an end of the console generation game now if it comes out.
Yeah.
And somebody ready to play Boys and Men End of the Road.
Yeah, I'm actually. This is where I kind of hope, because like I'm at the point now, and that like, unless Sony, who's is still involved in the publishing of this, decides to get Blue Point on this, I don't really want anyone on this that isn't like someone that is like well versed in these kind of games.
Yeah.
So, like I talked about how, like, that whole opening scenario where your character wakes up and Karth is there. He's the pilot of the ship that crashed, and like you and him are talking, and like you could like the way BioWare created these characters. Karth is not like just some random white guy, that's supposed to be noble or whatever in a typical action adventurous kind of story. Like, he's got layers to him. He's got a lot of demons. He's got a lot of like regrets, and all the characters are like that. Like Bastila, Jolie Bindo, like Ordo, the Mandalorian that you run into. Like, all of these characters are really that good. And even Obsidian, with the work I'm showing, like a trailer of the Sith Lords, Obsidian with like Kreia and all the other like Sith Lords and some of the actual Jedi Masters that you run into and whatnot. Like, the stories are really, really good with great plot twists. And it's like, I would much rather have a studio, like, for example, BioWare came out with the first one in 2003. Obsidian came out with the next one very soon after, like 2 years later, they came out with the Sith Lords. That's a very quick turnaround. And why was that turnaround so quick? Because Obsidian came from the same tree as BioWare did. They came from the same studio of Interplay. They both came out, branched out. Used to, like, a lot of those people used to work together, so they were using the same tools to make the game. I would much rather have a studio that does that, like in Obsidian or in Exile, because those guys know what's going to be necessary to really make this game a true successor or a true remake of what the original game was. Now, that said, you're not getting an Exile or Obsidian on this when Sony's involved, because Microsoft isn't going to be like, yeah, we're going to loan one of our studios over to this game that's going to be a timed exclusive for 2 years to our competitor, and we're not going to get it on Xbox. No, sir, right? But I think that eventually this is probably going to get canceled unless Blue Point takes over. I don't think they're going to get a good this is something that, like, most developers don't want to work on IP that's not their original stuff, and then you got the added pressure of trying to live up to expectations of a classic game that a lot of people are hyped for. And if the game doesn't live up to expectations, you know, it could be a good game, but just because it's not as good as what the original was, that people just like, whatever, we don't care. So I think if it ever does end up being a Knights of the Old Republic remake, that it's probably not going to be with Sony co-publishing it and Aspire developing it or Saber Interactive. I feel like it's going to get canceled, and then some years later, someone else that is probably better suited to make this game is going to get Lucasfilm Games to say yes and get it done. Unfortunately.
So Disney still owns the rights to it, right? Is it Disney? Or...
Yes.
Okay.
They created Lucasfilm Games, which is like not necessarily a publishing arm, but like they're kind of like they dole out the IP, they make approvals for things, and then they set stuff up. So like Aspire was supposed to be doing the publishing of it on PC, while Sony would do the publishing of it on consoles. But like,
see, it feels like it wasn't well handled. It's like you really couldn't have found. I don't know. It just feels like the way they planned this thing out in terms of giving it to an unproven studio. Although this studio does have some of the OG BioWare people, right? Or no?
They hired 50 ex-BioWare developers to make the game,
okay.
But some of those people aren't exactly like the people that were there when, in 2003 when they made the original game. Some of them were people that worked on like Mass Effect Andromeda, and some people weren't really happy with that. Some people in their team, as well as like, although I think the combat in Andromeda is actually pretty cool. Some of the people from the combat team on Andromeda are there as well. So yeah, it's just like it doesn't look like it's going to work out as far as I'm concerned. But any final words on the tour remake before we move on?
Just rip.
Yeah.
I played it, loved it, memories. I don't want to sing on the show, so I'm not going to sing Boyz II Men today because I don't know. I don't know. Unfortunately, this game just all good things come to an end, and this thing never got started.
But I think that's it. I think we have finally got through all our topics. We definitely,
yeah.
OBM, you said you didn't want this to be be on a 3-hour podcast, and here we are hitting.
I can't be mad because a lot of it was my fault. You guys let me talk, and somebody even in your chat called it out. Says, "Oh, OBM's here. It's going to be a long show." So I do have.
I did see that.
Especially when the first topic was Halo, and it lasted literally an hour.
I do that, and
I don't mind.
when it comes to Halo, I can figure out how to talk a long time on it. But either way, guys, it was awesome to catch up with you. It's been way too long, and I'm glad that we had a chance to get together and talk, and that there was things to talk about this week. So that weren't $70 games, or whether Game Pass is killing the industry. So it's nice to find something other than those two topics that seems like every show is running with these days. So.
Yeah. We try to avoid the typical topics that everyone else is talking about.
I appreciate that. So it was a good time. We got to talk some gaming today.
Yes, appreciate you.
Definitely glad we had you on. We definitely got to get you back on at some point in the future whenever you're not too busy. But again, let everyone know where they can find you, OBM. One bad insider, by the way. And
not an insider.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to find me, I am with the group over at Xbox Era. I'm a senior editor over there, although right now I'm kind of laying low when it comes to some the written and video content until get some things behind the scenes done. But if you want to keep a lookout for me, I'll be over there. Also do the a show that's all about Halo. It's called You Had Me at Halo. It's on every other week. So next week on Thursday, it's around 7:15. We'll be starting, and we'll talk about what's going on with the game. And as we know, it just seems like always be something to talk about these days, at least. Yeah, man. Other than that, I do pop on when in normal times. I do try to, show up in some podcast stuff. So if they want to try to follow me on Twitter at my handle's at Mutha MUTHA _1 ONE. So look me up there, and I'll let you know, if you care to listen to me, if you care to listen to my opinions for whatever reason, you find me there, and I'll tweet out when I'm on somewhere else. But thanks, guys. It was a great time, and I appreciate the invite.
I'm putting your Twitter handle in the chat right now, so everybody can go follow you. Forte, what you got going on, sir, for the next week or so?
So, I am about to make a lot of changes on the channel. So a lot of stuff's coming on that way. Got my new lens and everything. So about to be on camera a lot more on the channel and stuff. Actually live streaming a little bit more too. Just kind of got the bug for it. But outside of that, man, great show. I appreciate you, OBM, for coming through. Make sure you stop by your boy, come see him every once in a while.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yep. Me and my son will have to stop by. He loves to make, like when we have our days together where we, where it's just me and him, and my daughter's playing somewhere else. He likes to make the stop by the GameStop store, and we can stop by and say hi to Mr. Forte, and you get me to buy some toys. It always.
No, that's what I'm about to say. Every time OBM, he comes there just to visit, but he ends up walking out with like $50 worth of stuff that he did not think he was gonna buy. Don't blame that on me. That's because your son walking around in store and see all the stuff we got. But no, yes, great show. Gaming Forte everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation. Slow Mo, as always, great hosting. It's going to be another amazing episode. Only 6 episodes away from 100. And you know what? Me and Slow Mo will probably talk over we will talk over the next week, because definitely got to do something pretty epic for you guys when it comes to episode 100. See if we can get back to the community and stuff. But outside of that, enjoy the games you're playing, and don't play Twitter, and play something that actually involves a controller in your hand. Have a good week.
Yeah, and as for myself, like the gameplay I got showing right now is me showing my playing Fortnite with my son. Was his first time playing the game, so I spent a lot of time like, son, don't do that. Son, just pick that up. God, Nick, please stop. Okay, all right. It's just a lot of that. He's 12, but he's a super noob when it comes to anything like video games. He just basically plays Roblox. He wanted to play Fortnite, and I was like, really? Are you sure? He's like, yeah, I want to play Fortnite. And
mine does Minecraft. I don't think they're going to develop the same twitchy skills that we did growing up.
I basically protected him this entire time.
I was going to say, well, how did your son go this long and not get into like games like you did?
I don't know. He's
Different
never,
generation, man.
That's
yeah,
true. That's true.
he likes
Yeah,
mobile
right.
games more than just like console games for the most part, and
Yeah.
he's very artistic. So he's like he
Got you.
he loves to draw. He loves to write stories and stuff like that, and read books and all. So he's just like video games is like he'll play them a little bit, but just like the only thing he really has really like been stuck on is just Roblox. But like, yeah, I just like here's the part here where I'm just trying to show like, yo, just use the slurp juice to get a shield, man. Just like put the shield on. But he just like, I'm like, enemies are shooting at us, and he's just like, Dad, what button do I press again? I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, but like it's probably gonna be
Is
more.
his name Nick the Tank?
Yeah, that's his like
Is his
look.
handle?
That was his handle, like when he was like I made the account with him like a long time years ago when he was big into like Thomas the Tank Engine. So
Yeah, okay, Nick the Tank. Well, you do just remind that kid that he gets a free change every his Xbox Live account.
right. He's probably gonna want to change that at some point. He still doesn't care right now.
No, I will say that you're absolutely right. Like my oldest, she's 17 now. She's starting to come into her own little identity when it comes to like games that she prefers. Like she prefers more horror games and stuff like the Resident Evil until Dawn and
yeah.
Evil and
Within.
Evil Within, and she's played all the Dark Picture games. She made me go out and pre-order the new Devil in Me game that's getting ready to come out. So she's really into those. For my youngest, absolutely, she'll play certain things. Like she played Spider-Man, she played like Tomb Raider and stuff, but she mostly just Fortnite and Roblox. Literally, that's her life. So the younger they get, the harder it's getting out here.
Yeah. So like I mean, like I probably would play some more with him. I just and I've been playing a lot with like shout out to Cat Daddy lurking in the chat, Brat. Some of like my close friends I've been playing Fortnite Zero Build mode with them, and probably maybe some more with my son if I can pull him away from TV and other stuff to see if he wants to play some more. But
He enjoying his vacation from school, bro.
yeah, he is. But I mean, outside that, I'll be playing games. I know I haven't done too many lunchtime with slow mos, but I'll be getting back to that next week for certain. Work got a little hectic, but it's kind of starting to slow down a little bit. But I just really appreciate OBM coming through. Shout out to everybody that came through and watched the show tonight. We appreciate you guys so much. You don't even know how much we appreciate you guys. It's amazing the support that we have. But we're gonna get up out of here because it's coming close to midnight, and I don't want to hold these guys for too much longer. Thank you again for your time, people, and we are out. Peace.
Have a good night.
You got the
Eyes up, Guardian. Wipe yourself off, man. You did.